Hey, Lexi, are you ready to rumble?
Absolutely.
Then let's get the conversation started. Hello and welcome to LexiCon. It is Maddie.
Lexi.
I'm done.
And it's Royal Rumble season in the WWE, and that means it's time for our annual Royal Rumble watch-along. And this year we're going to be watching the 25th anniversary Rumble, but not just the Battle Royal. We're going to be watching the entire show, at least whatever version exists on Peacock.
Yes.
I do probably technically have this on VHS still down in the basement, but it doesn't feel like it's worth digging it out. I'm sure this version will suffice.
Probably.
And, of course, if you're watching along, we're going to give you a countdown, and we're going to get right into it because we've got almost 3 hours of show ahead of us, so we can say most of our comments for that. But if you are watching along with us, make sure whatever version you're watching is what we say zeroed out, so as soon as you press play, you go right into the show. No FBI warnings, no don't try this at home, no previews for anything. And I will count down 3, 2, 1, play, and we can all play together on play. And if you're not watching along, that should be fine. We'll try to be entertaining enough. And since there are maybe slightly different versions out there with maybe the commercial release or the Peacock version or your home recording, we will try to give several more time cues throughout. I mean, our record on that is not great, but we have a lot of opportunities being a wrestling show with 5 or 6 matches in it.
Yes.
So anyway, without any further ado, we're going to get into it. 25th anniversary Royal Rumble from January 23rd, 2000, beginning in 3, 2, 1, play. And we are into it. I should point out, we're recording this before the 2025 Royal Rumble airs, but it actually is going up the day after the Royal Rumble. So we have no idea what happened on the Rumble. So if we talk about this year's Royal Rumble at all, it's just going to be speculative. Also, of course, our schedule's been a little bit altered because of a spate of illnesses in our house set us way back. We're still hoping to get to the Rise of Skywalker commentary that we promised at the end of last year, but we're just not exactly sure when it's going to be. And we wanted to get into our Royal Rumble episode since this is Rumble weekend. I do want to bring up right here at the beginning, too, the disappointing news that WWE has completely sold out to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and announced that the actual Royal Rumble is going to emanate from Saudi Arabia in 2026. Guaranteeing that I'm not going to watch the show and that we probably won't be doing a Rumble episode next year in a bit of protest to that. I mean, maybe we should have skipped this year's, but this is a really cool show and I was really looking forward to it, so we're going to push on this year, but next year probably no Rumble show.
Alright. Mikey has been in agreement.
Alright, so, hey, 1-800-COLLECT.
Whoa, 1-800-COLLECT.
I don't think that still works anymore.
Nowadays.
What can I collect?
Wait, let's see. Would it even work on a cell phone? What happens if I dial 1-800-COLLECT?
I don't know.
1-800-20... sorry. 55328. Okay, here we go. Live on the podcast.
Dead silence.
No, it's
There we go.
Thank you for calling 1-800-COLLECT, powered by YMACTEL. Now, we can also assist you in making collect
Apparently it
calls
still
to
works.
wireless numbers.
I don't really need to call anybody. I was just curious.
Interesting.
Live from New York City. Was this at Madison Square Garden? I think it might have been.
You want to know what else is recently
to be fair, sometimes they'll say New York City even if they're not really in New York City, and New York City includes 5 different boroughs, so it certainly wouldn't have to be at Madison Square Garden.
But
it was at Madison Square Garden. Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler, probably my favorite commentary team of all time at ringside.
Anyway, you want to know what else is recently in Madison Square Garden?
Taylor
Me.
Swift.
Sabrina Carpenter.
I wasn't.
I took a shot.
I was going to say, wait, you went to the concert? What? The New York one, too, damn.
How about the taxi cab as part of the ring decoration?
That was interesting.
I'm still.
There's
Good angle.
a fairly baby face, not in the good guy, bad guy type of way, but just in a younger Kurt Angle. I mean, he wasn't that young. This
I've
was
drawn him.
4 years after he won the Olympics, but he's very young in his pro wrestling career. He just came into the WWE, at least as far as the main roster, or WWF at the time, the previous November, and he was doing an undefeated Angle. It wasn't as big a deal as like Goldberg's winning streak, but he was officially undefeated at this point. And he's going to be facing somebody else making their debut in the WWF at the time, longtime ECW mainstay Taz. Oh, Kurt Angle was so good back then. He was great in the ring, and he had such a great, a grating persona with his 3 eyes, his intensity, integrity, and intelligence, and oh, it's true, it's damn true. He probably didn't say it's damn true back then because he was doing sort of a spin on the traditional white meat baby face.
Interesting.
But this is the Attitude Era, of course, so
Yes.
he was a heel. Actually, I guess this is... there's no... there may be an official WWE timeline, but there's really no technically official length of the Attitude Era. But to me, this is almost post-Attitude Era. Like, I guess it's technically just late Attitude Era. I think in a lot of ways it's like, you know how we talk about how it's not so much that there's an 80s vibe and a 90s vibe, but the end of the 80s is more similar to the beginning of the 90s, and the end of the 70s is more similar to the beginning of the 80s.
Bleed into one another.
So even though it's sort of the tail end of one era, it has a lot of traits of the next era as well, you know. You had a lot of really good in-ring wrestlers like Kurt Angle and the so-called Radicals who would be in the WWE within a month of this. And we were sort of transitioning into the sort of hardcore wrestling era, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I was going to say, personally, obviously I was not around for most of it.
Yeah, you weren't even born when the show aired.
Well, yeah, no, not for this one, definitely. But I was going to say...
you missed most of the Attitude. You were actually born like a month after WrestleMania 2001 and the death of WCW, the death of ECW, the consolidation of the wrestling business, and sort of...
And at the end.
And the ill-fated Steve Austin heel turn, all the stuff that really sort of marked... Again, not necessarily the official end of the Attitude Era, but really, for all intents and purposes, the end of the Attitude Era.
Kicked off the fall, the end. Yeah. But no, I was going to say, so I always, when somebody mentions the Attitude Era, I'm sitting here like, oh, wrestling in the late 90s. But according to Wikipedia, the official dates for the Attitude Era is November 9th, 1997.
Right, they're calling it that because that's Montreal Screwjob.
Mm-hmm.
That's when DX had just started within a month. Of course, the NWO had been going strong on WCW for over a year at that point. But then the evil Mr. McMahon character would emerge. You know, Steve Austin is already the babyface Stone Cold Steve Austin. So you could even, I think you could even technically say it started earlier in 97.
Yeah.
That's also around the time I think that Vince McMahon did the infamous "We're no longer going to present good guys and bad guys and insult your intelligence" promo on Raw. So it makes sense that you would, but there is no official start date.
Yeah.
Really quickly, we'll get back to that. Here's Taz, former ECW world champion, actually had just headlined their pay-per-view, losing the world championship back in September after his 8-month or so run. I was a big Taz fan back then, and he's coming in. They're going to put him over strong, have him beat Angle, although it's going to be somewhat controversial because Angle's going to say that he just passed out and Taz is holding it was an illegal choke. Mm-hmm. But they really put Taz over strong to start with, but his push would fizzle quickly in the WWF. I don't know if it's backstage politics or his size or, you know, what have you, maybe his own personal attitude. I'm sure different people are going to give different reasons, but he was pushed strong out of the gate, but it would not continue for very long.
I'm seeing some purple metal chairs, and they look cool.
Taz now an announcer in AEW.
Interesting.
I was a big Taz fan. He was probably my favorite. Well, Rob Van Dam was probably my favorite ECW wrestler, but Taz would be right there with Van Dam. And then I was becoming a big Kurt Angle fan at this time.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle's still probably one of my 5 favorite wrestlers.
Nice. I
wouldn't list Taz amongst them, but partially because I only got to see him for so long. I didn't really get to see ECW until they started on pay-per-view. And then I only got, their TV show for a little bit when they were on TNN. So I didn't get to see a ton of ECW. But then again, his big run in ECW wasn't even that long. I mean, he started in 95, I think, and he was out of there by the end of 99. So. Mm-hmm.
Watching this, I just want to say, aesthetically, it doesn't feel as elaborate and showy as modern shows.
Really?
Really.
Well, like the staging is they've got a freaking taxi cab.
I know, and like they've got something neat happening right back there, but I don't know, it's not as flashy and like in your face and whatnot.
Well, I should point out too, there's 2 different configurations for Madison Square Garden for wrestling, and this is the more reserved one. So they have a very short entranceway, so they don't have much space to build an elaborate set. Starting with like WrestleMania in 2004, they would actually build up a bigger stage and set it up differently. And even for SummerSlam 91, they had a much longer entranceway, but they didn't have as much open space. So it's sort of a claustrophobic set where they're not going to be able to do a lot here. So this wouldn't be the best example, but most of the pay-per-views this time would have really elaborate sets. Yeah. And all kinds of stuff. And like I said,
just based on this
you
one
get the taxi cab there, but nowadays they have like no kind of sets. They just rely on like AR for the viewing audience.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too, is obviously now they've got technology to add all sorts of graphics and whatnot.
Yeah, I hate the AR stuff. Like if it's not in the arena, I don't want to see it. It should, if you can do it live where the crowd can see it, because the crowd should still be a big part of it.
I agree.
I'm just not a big fan.
I don't mind some of it.
I mean, I understand like the graphics that have like their name and their hometown.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even mind if they do some sort of AR graphic thing, but some of them I really don't like that. Who was it?
But like the big
not
Roman
Rollins.
Reigns. Oh, really quick.
yeah.
Taz has got the Taz mission on the judo hold, the Katahashime.
Yeah.
It was his finisher at the time, and this is going to lead to the end of the match, and Kurt's going to say, oh no, I was illegally choked out, so technically I'm still undefeated.
Interesting.
They didn't really go that far with that. Like I say, Taz's push really fizzled.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that
But
like
a strong
big
debut.
Roman Reigns thing, I did not care for that one.
No, I never liked that.
But
And
also,
some of it looks kind of cool, but then when you realize it's not real at all and nobody's seeing it in the arena, to me it loses its luster.
understandable. Really quickly going back to the Attitude Era dates. It was November 9th, 1997 to May 6th, 2002. What happened in May of 2002?
I'm not sure. Probably about the time that Austin walked out. So you could maybe date it to that, when he walked out of it, because he didn't want to job to Brock Lesnar with no storyline build-up or anything. And so he left, and he was gone for like 8 months, and then he came back, and he had his last match at WrestleMania, and then he had to retire because of the injury the following year. So that'd probably be about that time. And like I say, it's all, specious. It's just how you're going to describe it. There's no official beginning and end.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where even if they wanted to come up with it, there's just no hard, definitive sort of thing to say it, really. There's a lot leading into it, a lot of it. Like you said with the decades and whatnot, they bleed into one another. This is sort of one of those situations. Sorry, when you were doing the intro, you mentioned that this is the 25th anniversary. You want to know what's celebrating its 25th anniversary this year?
Anything from the year 2000?
Yeah, well, you want to know something specific that I'm excited over?
What?
The Sims. Also, I have a question. What year did we start this podcast?
2013.
That's what I was thinking. That's the same year I became obsessed with The Sims.
Skill issue.
No, you want to hear the great, totally great I hate EA sort of news from today?
Oh, I hate EA so news. I love
Yeah, so we saw leaks recently, and today they officially announced and released them same day. They have re-released The Sims and The Sims 2 on PC for Windows 10 and 11. They're being called the Legacy Collections. From what I've heard, The Sims 1 does include all of its packs. The Sims 2 includes every pack except for the IKEA stuff pack, most likely because they no longer have the rights for the IKEA stuff.
Damn, no Blowhigh.
I don't think Blowhigh was in the original one.
Bullshit.
I don't even know if Blowhigh existed back then.
Bullshit.
Michael Cole, the current voice of the WWE, as a backstage interviewer back then, interviewing the Hardy Boys, who were just really starting to get over now. They'd had a series of matches with Edge and Christian the previous fall that culminated in the first ladder match between the teams. In fact, that's when they won the services of the young lady you saw with them, Terry Runnels, as their manager, because it was the Terry Invitational Tournament, the TIT.
Interesting.
That was one of those Vince Russo ideas.
Yeah.
But they're really just starting to come into their own here and become the stars they would be in the WWF. And they're going to be facing another recent addition to the company, the Dudley Boys, also who came from ECW, Bubba Ray and Devon, who are, again, just starting to get over with a wider audience now. And this is going to be a tables match. We saw in the previews how they've been putting each other through tables. And the tables, of course, would be the Dudley's signature gimmick.
Interesting.
Devon, get the tables!
Okay.
Bubba Ray in the front, Devon in the back. The Dudleys started out as a playoff on the, oh gosh, I can't think of what they're called. The movie Slapshot had a sort of famous goon hockey family. Not gooning like you guys think about, but goons in hockey are like the guys who aren't necessarily great players, but they're rough and tough, and they're the enforcers of the team.
Uh-huh.
I cannot remember what they're called. I've never seen the movie, but they're a series of like half brothers, and they all wear the big glasses. And eventually the Dudleys would just be pared down to these final two, Bubba Ray and Devon. And like I said, they would come to their greatest prominence in the WWF with the table gimmick and whatnot.
Yeah.
And this is sort of a renaissance era for tag teams, mainly with the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys and Edge and Christian. The Edge Boys, I don't know. Edge and Christian, just lifelong best friends who in storyline were brothers. In storyline, all three teams are brothers. Of course, the Hardys are the only real brothers.
Yeah.
But they would have, again, it would start with the ladder match between Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys back at, I want to say, No Mercy in '99. And it would lead into the triple ladder match at WrestleMania 2000, the first the TLC match was another triple match between the three teams at SummerSlam, and then TLC 2 at WrestleMania in 2001. Sort of a legendary series of ladder matches. And by then, their, quote-unquote younger brother Spike Dudley would be in the mix, and Edge and Christian would have Rhino as a second, and Lita would have joined the Hardys, so it was really almost a 3-on-3-on-3 ladder match.
Interesting.
Really good time for tag team wrestling, especially if you like, the wild and crazy matches, which probably were already getting a little too over the top, but weren't as over the top as they would become.
Yeah. I mean, a bit over the top is okay. That can be fun and exciting.
This was one of the reasons I really wanted to watch the whole show. And I knew I wanted to watch the Rumble match. I knew I wanted to watch the Triple H Mick Foley world title match. But I also thought you guys would get a kick out of the tables match. So.
Tables.
And at that point, there's only like 2 or 3 other matches on the show, so I figure we might as well do the whole thing.
I love tables.
I mean, a table match can be cool.
Bubba with the full Nelson bomb on Jeff Hardy.
The Hardy boys, brothers, whatever.
The name of the team officially is the Hardy Boys. They are brothers.
Yeah.
So.
Where are they from?
Cameron, North Carolina.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because I know they're in North Carolina
Western North
nowadays.
Carolina.
Yeah. And I know they make appearances
I believe it's a suburb
at
of
various
Raleigh.
events.
If it's not an actual suburb of Raleigh, it's not far from it.
Watching tables get broken.
Already got a
You
table
said
in the
Western
ring.
just a moment ago.
Who said that?
You.
I said what?
Western. North Carolina.
I'm sorry, Eastern North Carolina.
Yeah, and then you said Raleigh. I'm like, wait a second, that's 2 different sides.
Yeah, my apologies, I just misspoke.
Yeah.
One of those things that happens.
It does.
Quick, go back, edit it. Get some AI in there to change my voice.
Oh no.
Oh no.
No, we're not,
You know, Maddie!
we're not giving AI your voice. Oh, just feed every episode of the podcast into it really quickly.
I wouldn't even do that for content, like to see how much I screwed it
yeah.
up. That's how much I despise AI and do not want.
I was gonna say it would be fun in games to see how much it screwed it up nowadays, but give it some time and it would be a regret. So,
I do not want to train my eventual successor.
The other Hardy boy, I follow his wife on TikTok.
The other Hardy
Instagram.
boy?
Yeah. What's his name?
That makes it sound like somebody besides the main team.
No. I'm blanking on his name.
Married
to
that
Ruby.
was really close to being bad. I'm sure it hurt, but Bubba almost got the leg of the table in the face.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
I don't think he actually did. I think it actually came right over his head, but that could have been bad.
And he's the father of Gothic Baby.
Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
Matt's the one in the ring now with Bubba, the one with the dark hair. Jeff is the one with the multicolored hair.
He was at a Comic-Con that I wanted to go to. I wasn't able to, though. It cost too much.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe this is one of those tables matches where you have to put both of your opponents through a table. And so the match continues until both members of the team have been put through a table. I could be wrong. It could be just first guy through.
Interesting. I just now realized that he's wearing a purple shirt. I thought he came out in black.
And the Dudleys are in there. What would become signature for the WWE camouflage. It was tie-dye in ECW.
Okay.
Imagine being at a table.
Those are
match,
two
they
different
just trip and
patterns.
fall and go to a table. Tail match over.
There's a cat doing something somewhere.
Cat's doing something somewhere?
And now a ladder's in the mix. Not with the cat, with the
Odd
wrestlers.
colors.
Alex just walks in the kitchen. There's a cat climbing up a ladder.
Blue and yellow ladder.
The cat found a piece of paper.
I dare it. Oh. Ow.
Was it writing its memoir? Clothesline Bubba over the top with the ladder.
It was the same cat that previously shared her opinions.
Previously.
Gotta bring a chair in. So, while technically this is a tables match, we have tables, ladders, and chairs involved.
Oh, of course.
Tables and ladders and chairs are mine.
I mean, do you
If
ever...
you hadn't stumbled over it, it would have been better.
Fuck off.
Do you ever stick strictly to just one?
No, probably not. Because, I
Exactly.
mean, they always lean on the fact that, well, if you got one in there, it's a no DQ match, so anything technically goes.
Yeah.
So while technically it wasn't a TLC match until SummerSlam 2000, I'm sure tables and chairs were involved in the ladder match at WrestleMania.
Probably.
I want a match where they'll leave the whole stadium and just keep chasing each other for like a mile.
We got Bubba Ray.
The match ends like 3 miles away from the stadium.
Okay, WrestleMania 2000.
So wasn't the match
Roddy
that
Piper
left the
and-
stadium?
Well, Oh, there we go. Bubba Ray went through the table. I don't think that's the end of the match, though.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. I think they have to put both of them through.
Anyway.
So just Bubba's gone through now, and I think they're saying they got to put Devon through and then the one. But
That's
I don't
what
think
Jeff
Bubba's
said.
out of
Pretty
the match. Like
interesting.
he might lay out for a while, selling the having gone through the
Yeah.
table. But I think he's still technically in the match. Also, referee is Teddy Long, who was longtime referee, but also a manager, and he was the GM of SmackDown for a while. Longtime wrestling figure. When I first got into wrestling in the early 90s, he was the manager. Ron Simmons and Butch Reed is the tag team Doom, in what was another sort of golden era for tag team wrestling, WCW in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
At least for a couple years when you had.
Wait, did the other Hardy Boy technically put him through the table?
I think both of them went through.
Yeah, it looked like he hit first, and that's when the table broke, and then Matt had already jumped off the ladder. Yeah, I know it doesn't matter who put it in through.
It only matters who
I was
goes
just
through.
curious.
This is an interesting setup too. They've propped the stairs up on their back end so they can lay out a table between the ring apron and the stairs. And
Interesting.
they're going to try to put Devon. They're going to set him up on the table and then whack him in the back with a chair for good measure.
So what if whacked him in the head?
I thought he was going to spank him, honestly.
Before I have that back.
Anyway, you were saying something
This
about
could
a
be the
match.
finish here. Nope.
Oof, nope, he moved.
Now, see, that might technically count as Matt going through a table. Oh, wait, could that be? Are they going to call that the finish? Because Jeff just went through a
hope
table
not.
too. And they're saying the match is going to continue. Sometimes
Okay.
they play it off like if you put yourself through, it still counts.
Boo.
And both the Hardys technically did go through a table trying to put Devon through. It was sort of like with the Rumble itself. Like if you jump over the top rope on your own, you're eliminated. But sometimes
Yeah.
in a battle royal,
In some scenarios, I can see
that's
it
been
making
pretty well established
sense.
as a Royal Rumble rule. I'm not saying they've never broken their own rule, but in another battle royal, that might not be.
But
the
at least
case.
in this context, I wouldn't be fond of that.
I think it mainly is just whatever works best for that particular match.
Probably.
Which is sort of, to me, it's a good thing, bad thing. You know, it's nice to be able to have that leniency and be able to play with things so it fits your situation. But I also do appreciate consistency as well.
Yeah.
So I think if you don't abuse it and you can make it make sense, it's a good thing. But I think consistency is probably, I don't want to say it's more important, because to the casual fan, I'm not sure that it really matters. Mm-hmm. But as a hardcore fan, I would like to see a little more consistency, but maybe every now and then you just switch it up. And especially if you're going to establish it before the match ever starts, that helps.
Yeah.
Now, the Dudleys are celebrating like they won, but they've only put Matt through the table, so
Interesting.
the match is still going on. Which, I mean, is the best. If you're going to do a match like this, you're going to want to book it where you get at least one member of each team through before the finish.
Yeah.
Didn't you ask me a question a minute ago that I...
Yeah, you were talking to us about a match that had technically left the stadium or whatever.
Oh, Roddy Piper and Goldust at WrestleMania 96. It technically started outside of the stadium. It was the backlot brawl. And I mean, I think it was actually filmed a few days ahead of time, the part outside of the stadium, but they started outside the stadium on a supposed Hollywood backlot. And then they spliced in footage of the OJ highway chase that was supposedly Roddy Piper in the white Blazer. It wasn't a Blazer, it was a Bronco. Yeah, they actually got a white Bronco for Roddy Piper, and they showed him drive away from the parking lot brawl, chasing after Goldust in his gold Cadillac, and then they used the footage of the OJ highway chase as supposedly Roddy Piper down the freeway, and then they ended up coming into the stadium to finish the match. And then as the story goes, they actually gave Roddy Piper the Bronco, and he actually drove it back home to Oregon.
Interesting.
That would be the... And I've also heard Jim Cornette tell a story about a match. It was probably in Memphis or one of the territories where they had weekly live TV, where the two wrestlers brawled out of the arena on one show, and then the next week's show, which may have been shot, maybe it wasn't live, maybe it was shot at the same time, or maybe it was done live, but then they ended up brawling back into the next week's show in the same clothes and the same get-up.
That's amazing.
So there are some instances of that, maybe not exactly what you're talking about.
Pretty much, though.
And there's a famous hardcore match between Al Snow and Bob Holly from St. Valentine's Day Massacre in '99. So just about a year before this, where they brawled out of the arena all the way to the Mississippi River, which I mean the arena was near the river.
Yeah.
Like they went 2 miles down the road, but the river was outside the arena.
Nice.
So there are some instances of what you're talking about. Meanwhile, here in the entranceway, the Dudleys have stacked up 2 tables. And,
Double-decker table.
they're putting Matt on top of him. Matt's already gone through a table, so Jeff's the one they need to put through the table.
There's no
They've
point in
got two
double-decking the tables.
So I'm not quite sure.
Imagine putting both.
I mean, it looks like they're going to try.
onto
It
those
looks like they're going to
tables,
put
though.
Jeff on there too, but initially they're setting up with just Matt, which doesn't
I'd
make a
put
ton of
one
sense.
on the bomb table.
That's what I was
top.
saying.
That would hurt.
It would be
I'm
really
pretty
bad for
sure
the person
if you
in
go
between.
if you go find the right ECW videotape, that's been done. Probably
No,
been
I
done
wouldn't be
somewhere else
surprised
too,
if
but
it
as
was
far
done.
as easily
Did I say I like
attainable.
those chairs?
the purple seats.
I don't think
Do you
Yeah,
think
look,
they
look,
make
even like the
pink
railings
ones?
in the audience are
I think I'll
purple.
pick them up and
Another
go.
table?
Ba-doom!
See,
Oof.
easy. But
Ba-doom is the
Matt's
sound
already
of
been
wrestling.
through a table.
Exactly. Wait, did Matt technically?
Yeah,
he
'cause
did,
that,
didn't
Matt's
he?
the one they powerbomb through the table.
Yeah,
And Bubba's already been through a table. So if Bubba goes
Exactly.
through here, the match is still going to continue.
exactly.
And Matt moved. Oh, here we go.
The way he
Ow.
just fell. Oof, both tables too.
Oh, the ta-
Actually,
broken his
well, they
fall,
had
but-
two tables
Well,
stacked
yeah.
up, and then they had another table in front of it. He went through the top table and the table in front. The bottom table still standing.
Yeah.
Which I guess is a good thing they put that other table there, because if not, he would have just fallen
Okay,
straight
so
to
like
the
if you
floor.
hit someone with a table and it breaks, so
Oh,
that
no.
guy's going through.
Again, I think it would depend on what they want to do for that particular match. Oh, now they've got Devon set up, and Jeff's
What do you think
above the
of hi-
entryway. Swanton
Jeff's
bomb.
hair
It's fine.
looks interesting.
It's fine. I don't love it or
Take a
hate it.
table,
It looks
whack
like
someone.
an attempted rainbow.
Anyway, that's
in
the end of that
blonde.
match. With the
Yes.
Swanton bomb, Devon is put through the table, and the Hardys are your winners. And like the roughest way possible.
It made sense. He was kicking
almost is
away and then just
without
goes.
the audio, it almost like
it
Matt
away.
is turning on Jeff,
Yeah.
here, like he's fixing to slam him in the ring, and this is the beginning of the breakup of the team. There we
It
go.
made
Your
sense,
winners,
and
the
then you
Hardy
just
Boys.
the fuck.
I said your winners, the Hardy Boys.
Dylan has a plastic lobster he was playing with.
Your winners, the Hardy Boys, and the plastic lobster. To the winner goes the plastic
Your
lobster.
friend. You dropped your friend.
You put it on me without permission.
He's a friend.
He's got the interesting sleeve.
He's friend
glove
shaped.
Yeah, that
things.
was Jeff Hardy's signature.
Nice. What's Jeff Hardy up to nowadays?
It's not my day to keep up with them. I'm not on Jeff Watch.
Last I saw, Matt was questioning
Oh,
the
look at the
amount of
double.
Halloween decor
nice.
his wife wanted to purchase. He gave in and let her purchase all of it, though, of course.
Bubba doing a seal pose there. Bubba Ray Dudley's impression of a seal. Damn, you better be careful. Maybe if that's metal, he could have easily gotten hurt on
Yeah,
that table.
very easily.
Where the trim is just poking up.
Another checking Kurt Angle. Moments ago, backstage.
Did I win? No, you
He
fucking
does.
suck.
He does look
like I
half
say,
out of
he's
it.
going to be going on with he choked me, it was illegal, so technically I'm still undefeated. Like I say, they didn't push that for very long,
Yeah,
but it was initially the idea.
interesting. Anyway, I didn't finish what I was saying previously before wrestling got interesting again.
What? What you
About
saying?
Wait, when did that happen?
Oh, yes.
That was like 2 years ago. It's kind of getting boring again now.
By the way, that's
what
an
you're saying
interesting
about
suit
Sims. That's the
jacket.
EA Sims
Okay,
drama.
so they re-release these, and of course, it's like, okay, here's the games again. They work on the new stuff. Well, of course, there's a lot of backlash because the games are either crashing when they go to open them, or they're not
Fine.
even opening to begin with.
Fine.
No, my favorite part, and my favorite part is like, wow. So Sims, it costs $20. Sims 2, it costs $30.
Yeah.
And
I was looking, and Sims 3 is $20.
dear God.
Why Sims 2 costing $30?
Right? Sims 3? I mean, okay,
Well, I
that's
guess
his
Sims 3
base
doesn't
game,
count.
right?
But still.
I gotta weigh in really quickly.
Okay.
We're going into a really ridiculous segment here. The
Ooh, ridiculous.
the Miss Royal Rumble
That's a
swimsuit
sweater.
contest.
Yeah.
We've seen Sergeant Slaughter and Tony Gurria and now Fabulous Moolah, all former wrestlers, coming out to be the judges. I think this might be. Oh, somebody's getting a kiss from Moolah. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Johnny Valentine.
Which sweater is better?
Honestly, I might like Moolah's best.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it,
The legendary
honestly.
classy Freddie Blassie.
Who?
All former wrestling stars. All pretty much former wrestling legends, honestly. But
The legends you and I did not know.
the point I was trying to get to,
The legends we didn't know.
look, most of these wrestlers are before my time as far as their active
Exactly.
career. Some of them, I mean, Sarge wrestled during my wrestling fandom, but I know them because they were like the generation before me, and of course I studied history and cared about it, and they were still relevant.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like that's the generation before you. Obviously, we know the legends from your generation
honestly,
and
I don't
everything,
even
but
know.
that's going even further back.
Sarge is still alive. The others might all be deceased by now.
Quite likely, a fair few legends from your generation.
Anyway, this is
are
a swimsuit contest, which is
okay. Yeah.
silly enough on its surface, but if you like it, if you enjoy participating in it, I'm not going to come down on it. But the point I was trying to get at is I said this might be slightly edited. I'm pretty sure this is going to be edited because if I'm not mistaken, Mae Young, who's another old-time wrestler, she's older than Fabulous Moolah as far as I know, is going to win, or she's not going to win. I don't remember what happens exactly, but the point is, I think this is the one where she pulls off her top and she has these fake boobs on. They're supposed to look like the really over-the-top saggy titties that you saw in the movie Something About Mary. So I don't think that's actually going to air here on the network. I'm pretty sure they're going to blur or cut away from it, but I think this is the
Probably.
contest where this happens.
Aye.
Actually, I see Jacqueline coming out. This might even be when, there's a time when she was in a bikini contest and one of her boobs popped out. That
How
might
many
have
bikini contests have there been?
multiple.
Several?
That might have, well, she and Sable had a one-on-one bikini contest back in the summer of '98.
Why?
I mean, I am questioning its
And
context
I think
wrestling.
I think Jackie's boob popped out, and Sable came out with no top, just handprints painted over her tits.
I was gonna say, I feel as though there were other places for me to tune into this content.
No, clearly in the middle of wrestling, you need a bikini contest.
I'd like my
Obviously.
back out at wrestling.
Look, it is what it is. I don't have a problem with it.
This is
I don't
not
have a problem
wrestling.
with people
I don't have a
doing
problem
silly-
with it either. I'm just sitting here like, well, this
Bikini
is not
contest,
what I
Royal
expected.
Rumble.
I honestly only
The winner
want,
is the winner of the contest.
I only wanted to spotlight it because I'm pretty sure it's when they had the prosthetic boobs on Mae Young, and to point out that I think they're probably going to edit it out. So keep an eye out. If you see her take her top off or something, they cut away or they blur it. Just know we actually saw it live. And like it's not even her real breast. Like I said, they put this over the top fake prosthetic on her just because apparently Vince McMahon was a big fan of that scene. And there's Something About Mary. There's Luna Vachon, who was actually a legitimate wrestler. A lot of women, in this era were more there for their looks and just wrestled as a secondary thing. But Luna was actually a longtime wrestler. Mm-hmm. And there's the Cat, who was Jerry Lawler's girlfriend at the time. She would do a little thing with China for a while where she was sort of like China's sub.
She looks like
China
China.
hot. Well, yeah, that's
similar,
why she was
at
doing
least.
the black wig and stuff. Although this would be... Yeah, China
China.
would still be there because China didn't leave till after WrestleMania the next year, so this could be during that era. She actually exposed her real titties on the pay-per-view before this in December.
God.
They had a hot, not a hot tub. Oh, Andy Richter.
How many titty reveals have there been?
Several.
And somehow it doesn't surprise me.
I didn't see that one. I didn't get that pay-per-view. It really wasn't a good show. But, I heard
It
about
wasn't?
I'm not talking about
Expected that to put
I
the
wasn't
names
referring to the
boobs.
boobs. I was referring to the overall paper. I'm sure the boob show was just fine for what it was. I wasn't critiquing her chest.
How many people do you think would regret not getting that show?
I mean, I can only speak for myself.
Did you regret not getting the show?
No. I mean, I'm sure she has very nice titties, but I don't need to spend $30 just to see them.
You still weren't married with kids. So this is only 2000. You still weren't married with kids.
I hadn't even met your mother at this point.
Dear gosh.
I wouldn't meet her for another
I met your
5
mom.
What
months. This is January.
This is January?
Yeah, and can I just say, too, I'm annoyed that the Royal Rumble is in February this year.
I'm
The
sorry.
Royal Rumble was always a January event.
Okay.
That's is that Ivory, I believe. Another one who's an
I think
actual
so.
wrestler, and she's playing off like, hey, I don't want to be part of this silly swimsuit competition. I'm a wrestler.
I don't like the bottom design.
You don't like the thong?
I don't like
Or
when
the
it's
front of it?
that
I don't like
high
the boots
cut.
with it. The boots look a little off.
You don't just run in boots along the beach.
She's got these high purple wrestling boots, and then the thong.
Personally, I bring my wrestling boots to the beach. I don't know about you.
I mean, I personally bring my Victorian
We have
boots,
5 former
but-
legendary wrestlers and 1 comedian as the judges. And there's the aforementioned Terry Runnels, one-time wife of
This still
Cody's brother
what you said
Dustin.
about Sims.
We'll get back to it later.
Oh, I mean, if
That-
I'm bikinis right now. You really want
First of all, I
bikinis
wouldn't
right
even
now?
call some of these bikinis. Second of all, that
Well, now that is
swimsuit.
legitimately not a bikini. A bikini
Exactly,
is a two-piece.
exactly. I was going to say that just looks like one very cut up piece of
I don't know
fabric.
that every two-piece is a bikini, but I do know a bikini has to be a two-piece.
I've never researched it strongly, but from my understanding, yeah, a bikini is a type of two-piece, but
Right.
not every two-piece is
Exactly.
a bikini.
Here's Jack. I was a big fan of Jackie.
That is technically not a bikini either, based on the how the string things are.
Lexi was talking.
I was trying to say that is the most modern bikini I've seen so far, but then
Wait, modern for the time or modern for today?
Honestly, I'm
And how
probably
can you
thinking
rate bikinis
2010,
in
so
2000 because
neither.
you weren't even around then.
Like I said, I was probably picturing bikinis I saw in 2010, so neither.
Saw the speeches.
But then, then I noticed how at least the strings are connected. I'm like, wait a second, that's still not a bikini.
This is, she was going by the name BB or Barbara Bush at the time. I don't know much about her. She wasn't around for very long.
That's probably my favorite.
I believe she falls
of
much more
bikinis
into the
now.
model woman's performer than the wrestler women's performer.
Actually, she has some really nice heels on.
The heels with the bathing suits are silly too, but
I mean,
I'm kind of
technically,
used to them from like beauty contests. But technically,
that's what I'm saying.
you should probably be barefoot or in sandals, honestly.
Yeah. But see, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is just part of beauty pageant stuff, so I feel as though there were other places to tune into this. This is not what I was expecting in the middle of a wrestling pay-per-view.
She went by the name Miss Kitty, and she also went by the name The Cat.
We had a cat named Miss Kitty.
This may have been The Cat era, like I say, with the black wig. Oh, she's got... Is it bubble wrap? No. It is bubble wrap. Yep. She has a bubble wrap bikini.
Is that your favorite of the bikinis?
I mean, it's the most ingenuitive.
That's fact.
The most unique.
The way it's styled to a cut I'd be more likely to like.
Imagine a girl just comes up with a bubble wrap bikini and just...
Dylan is miming popping the bubbles on a lady's bikini.
Let's go play. I hate it.
Oop, that wasn't a bubble. And here comes May. May was a May was a much used performer this time. Her and Moolah would show up a lot and do crazy things.
She looks like Moolah.
I know I brought it up before, but I should just do it again. May's the one who had an on-air affair with Mark Henry and gave birth to a hand.
What?
Mm-hmm. They did an angle where, Mae Young's pregnant, and when it was time to have the baby, it was actually just a hand that was stuck inside of her.
What the fuck is wrestling?
It was like a rubber hand. No, that was not one of the better Vince Russo. Vince Russo had some good ideas. He was a big part of the Attitude Era. That was not one of the better ones.
What the fuck is wrestling?
And look, as I've said, to me, the end of '99, when Steve Austin went out with a neck injury, and when Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara left the WWF to go to WCW, that to me is pretty much the end of the Attitude Era. And I'm not saying, Vince and Ed were the only ones who made it, but they were a part of it. And the shows gradually started to shift after that. And of course, Austin was gone for a while, and then he came back, but it wasn't exactly the same. So to me, that really is sort of the line of demarcation of where the true Attitude Era ends.
Also, she is also not wearing a bikini.
She is not.
She's actually wearing the most covering outfit right now.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Pink and purple.
Mostly purple.
Now she's butt flossing with her robe. Look, I said this was a good show. I didn't say... Look, I'd honestly forgotten this was a part of the show. And I mean, I wasn't going to just get one part.
This is a very important part of the show, god damn it.
I mean, she's teasing taking the top off. This is why I think this might be the one. And I have a feeling we're not going to see it.
She's unzipped it.
But because they're prosthetics, maybe we do?
Probably not.
Well, like I say, when it happened for real...
he's running.
Okay, there's a big red X censored over the top. It was not censored when we saw it live.
Yeah.
And there's the aforementioned Mark Henry, her sometimes on-air beau, coming out to cover her up. But yeah, they had these, like there's a scene in the movie, there's something about Mary, where the older lady in it, you see her boobs, and they're, like, hanging down super low, like, way over the top. Probably unlike any real boobs ever.
That's such a silly...
When they're not doing, like, the wide shots.
I know, it almost reminds... If it was green, it'd be a DX logo.
DX is censoring this.
DX would be the
by
ones not
DX.
wanting to
Yeah.
censor it.
That's fact.
Mark Henry, legitimately one of the strongest men in history.
Nice.
Strong boy.
Yeah. Let's see, is May actually going to be declared the winner?
Unanimous decision.
I don't think the judges were actually judging. I'm pretty sure it's a complete
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah.
The winner of the Miss Rumble 2000. I think it is May, because I think the boobs popped out again. I think she gets away from Mark, and you saw the boobs for a minute.
Yeah.
Again,
Multiple times.
You saw the blur there.
Yeah, and I've noticed it previously too.
See, I just had a hunch. I knew there was going to be something on this that was going to be edited for Peacock. There's a few of those things out there, and it's not just the music, because a lot of the music rights have caused them to insert generic music or different songs, which can be really annoying going back and watching when you know what the music should be.
That's when you find the appropriate music somewhere.
Yeah, that's why it's good to still have your VHS collection.
Yeah. No concern about copyright editing there. No concern about censoring either.
That's why I'll never get rid of my wrestling
You
tapes.
said you might have this on VHS, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, unless the tape has gotten damaged over the years, with it sitting in a crate in the basement, maybe it got wet or something, or humidity or whatnot, but otherwise, yeah, I should very well have this. Unfortunately, some of my wrestling tapes aren't labeled. I never got around to labeling them because we were making so many wrestling tapes back then.
Uh-huh.
Why didn't you label them?
Because I was busy. Why don't you do a lot of things you should do?
How long did it take to label?
You
Not
think
that
you'd
long,
label
but you
every
finish
tape
watching
you
a show, then
recorded?
you're going to do something else,
Yes.
then you're going to do something else, and just you get distracted.
I know you'd have unlabeled tapes.
Yeah, if you were making videotapes like every day, you wouldn't be
I
labeling
label
them.
them.
Okay.
How am I supposed to know what it is if it's not labeled?
You name
Put it in the
all of your
machine?
files?
Plus, sometimes too, like I wouldn't have a label. I mean, it's like
You name all of your files?
Actually, I
like,
do name most.
a blank video.
Most,
A blank
not
video
all.
cassette would come with pretty much one set of labels. Maybe there'd be an extra label or two in there, but if something happened to that, or I needed it for another tape or something, then I wouldn't have a label. So then it's like sometimes I do like temporary labels. Use like the little thin, because sometimes there'd be like really small labels that were meant to label just an end of a tape or something. I'd use that and mark what it is with plans to make a better label eventually, but just still not get
If you
around to
messed
it.
up a label, were you able to use whiteout or something on it, or did you have to live with your
Whiteout
mistake?
sucks. I guess technically you could use whiteout, but I never had much success with whiteout, period.
Yeah, I haven't used
I tried
whiteout in
whiteout
a long
comma.
time.
Yeah, there's China. She definitely was still in the thing, because this is when I think she and Jericho were Intercontinental Champions
I
at the
think
time.
Matt either didn't hear you or chose to ignore it.
I'm funny.
I didn't hear him because I was trying to talk about what I was actually watching on the show. Oh, here's the don't try this at home PSA. This one wasn't before the show. This one they actually put in.
You want to try stacking tables and pushing your friends through it? Be our guest.
You want to have a bikini contest? Be our guest.
But the rest of this, no, don't do it.
I think it was supposed to cover the whole show.
Yeah,
Not
but
How to make sure of it after the bikini contest.
No, what they're saying is if you're booking a wrestling federation, don't book a duo as your Intercontinental Champion like they were doing with China and Jericho. Don't make bad booking decisions like this. Tables, thumbtacks, chair shots, that's fine, but don't make stupid booking decisions. If you're going to book wrestling, do it smartly.
you can do it dangerously as long as you do it smartly.
This is a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. And at this point, Chris Jericho and female wrestler China were the co-Intercontinental Champions.
Are you doing it smartly if you're doing it dangerously? Don't answer that
debatable.
question.
Yeah, time to get back to Sims, yeah.
Oh, Sims, okay. Yeah, no. My thing was, so I told you that, Sims 2. 30, that's what, like half the cost of a new game nowadays? Sims 2 at
well,
least.
technically, new game's going up to 70 typically.
Well, yeah, up to 70, but
Can we pay some respect really quickly to the late
Yes.
Johnny Lauer, a.k.a. China?
yes, we can.
Yes.
Another one gone too soon. I was a big fan of China. I like China.
She's been gone a while now.
From the
hasn't she?
point she first started as Triple H's bodyguard through all of her wrestling, both men and women, I was a big China fan.
I'm not sure you've shown me a whole lot of her.
Yeah. Well, we just got to get the right show in the right era.
Yeah.
And it's only so much time, so we haven't had time to really go back and rewatch everything.
Yeah. But she
Give you a
would
chance
have
to see
been
her a bit. This is not necessarily her,
big role
her
of
best
this
match,
era,
but-
though.
And of course Chris Jericho, who's only dead to me.
I'm sorry.
Well, tweeting out things like "All Lives Matter" during the summer of 2020 and donating to the Trump campaign, and having a wife who was at the insurrection kind of soured me on him.
Understandable.
But back then I didn't know any of that, and I was a fan of Jericho.
Yeah. I have a
Not necessarily the
Jericho
storyline.
as well.
It was kind of silly. The idea of co-champions. Like, I don't have a problem with China holding the belt. I liked the idea of having the first female Intercontinental Champion.
She should have held it by herself.
I think she did at one point. Maybe she comes out of this match as the champion, or maybe previously she held it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But just the idea of...
like a partial ponytail.
At some point, yeah. That's not an uncommon hairstyle, though, to pull some of your hair back in a ponytail and still have some of it out.
I know. I just feel as though he could have done it better.
Well, it's probably going to come out as he wrestles anyway. So.
Probably. Right now, it's looking.
And at different points, Jericho did.
Positioned.
At different points, Jericho did do gimmicks where he had like messy, silly hairstyles.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a little bit of a bleed over from that as well. And the third member in the match is Bob Hardcore Holly.
Yeah.
Who started out as doing a race driver. It wasn't even a gimmick. WWF really sponsored him to be a race car driver on one of the lower circuits, and he actually did drive a race car for a while.
Interesting.
He had a stupid name though, because originally it was Thurman Plug, and his nickname was Sparky. But the idea was for his initials to be STP, like the motor oil.
Uh-huh.
But you would normally say like name, nickname, last name.
Exactly.
So Thurman Sparky. But the idea was, and he would say it that way. I'm Thurman Sparky Plug, or STP, but that would have to be Sparky Thurman Plug.
Yeah.
But it was a silly gimmick anyway, so
Makes sense.
He found much more success in this role, the Hardcore Holly role, the badass wrestler.
Kind of like Jericho's pants, at least the color scheme of them.
Black tights with some red, yellow,
Slap.
orange, and blue flames.
Yeah.
Slap.
Maybe
Almost
not
Discord
flames.
This is a
vibes.
slap fight.
Not Discord, the social.
I mean, a good hard slap.
Mm.
You're not gonna. Well, you could put somebody out with it, honestly, if you slap them hard enough. And it makes a lot of noise too, so it can be good for a wrestling match. China with the over the top bump.
Nice. Not nice for her.
Looked pretty good. I wasn't critiquing her
Yeah.
physique or anything. I was saying the bump looked good. I thought she was attractive. I liked her from the beginning. I liked her even before she had all the surgery. She was just a big muscle-bound broad. I think muscles on a woman are sexy.
Muscle mommy.
I think when without... Look, I like women, period. Y'all know me. I don't have a type. I don't even have a preferred gender. I'm into everybody.
I like only women.
Since
I
you hate Mel
exist.
McGavin.
You exist. You don't like anyone?
Wait, I thought we were both pan.
I think a lot of people look nice.
Are you leaving me alone now?
No.
I thought we had our own little pan club.
I think a lot of people look nice. I specifically like specific people.
Well, yeah.
I like my wife.
I'm more into people's personalities than anything, but I also appreciate their physical attributes. I just appreciate a very wide variety of physical attributes.
I like my wife.
I mean, in general, I tend to find women more attractive than men, as far as just to look at.
Yeah.
But again, I find a very wide range of women attractive. There's not one specific type of woman I like.
I would be the opposite of that.
And like I said, when it comes to actually being friendly, when it comes to being friends or more with somebody.
I was saying, because he said he typically likes women more than men. I was saying I'd be the opposite of that.
But I can
prefer men.
I can also appreciate men's physicality. A lot of times with men, it's more of a like, oh, if I look like that, I'd be happy with myself. You know, I appreciate the way they look. But, you know, I do also appreciate them, not romantically per se. But,
yeah.
I mean, I do find men, I am attracted to men as well.
Yeah.
But it's different than the way I'm attracted to women.
Personally, I acknowledge women being I also acknowledge that doesn't take away from me being pretty, too.
Pretty.
I wasn't saying I was judging myself against men, but I wasn't saying like, oh, I wish I looked like him, but I'm just saying I'm appreciative of it, not from the standpoint of, oh, I'd like to touch it, but if you know, they're put together
aesthetically
nicely.
pleasing.
Yeah.
Understandable.
And I just usually frame it in the guise of if I look like that, I'd be happy with that. I'm not saying I'm not happy with the way I look, but I'm saying, you know, everybody looks different.
Very much true.
And I don't necessarily look at a woman and think, well, if I look like that, I'd be happy. I just look at a woman and say, oh, that makes me happy. I don't know, you know. And like I say,
both.
Pretty much when it comes to women, my type is woman.
Woman.
And lest anybody question it, trans women are women too. So
Yes.
But again, if it comes to an actual partner, your personality means a lot more to me than specifically the way you look. I want to be attracted to the way you look, but it's not hard for me to be attracted to you if I, find your personality appealing.
Yeah. So Sims.
Oh, China's fixing to take
Nope, back to China.
I think maybe China was a champion before this, and then she and Jericho were co-champions, and then Jericho's going to win this match, and then she's going to be his manager for a while. Actually, before too long, she's going to be the paramour of Eddie Guerrero in his Latino Heat phase. Because within the month, probably within a couple of weeks, the so-called radicals, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn are going to jump from WCW to the WWE.
It's a big pile.
We got a double pin there, too. We almost continue with co-champions.
Sandwich.
Eddie and China were really fun. They did a gimmick, which some people might find a little offensive at this point, but they had Eddie get his GED, and then he had a GED prom. And then at Backlash this year, and one of my favorite pay-per-views, they supposedly came straight from the prom, so like Eddie wrestled in his suit. Mm-hmm. It's kind of silly, but I enjoyed it. I
personally like this, seeing China in the ring with the men and actually wrestling them and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people have issues with women wrestling men and the credibility of it, but China had enough size that she could pull it off.
And so it's not something you typically see. Is that even something we really see that much nowadays?
Actually, yes, it's very common nowadays. Just WWE doesn't do it, and neither does WWE.
Somebody who almost only watches WWE.
So TNA does it, and in the independents, it's very common. It's actually very much accepted in a lot of circles of wrestling. But like I say, the WWE doesn't do it at all. They don't even want men and women to interact with each other physically.
Interesting.
I think it's okay for them if a woman hits a man, but they don't want a man hitting a woman.
Interesting.
And I don't think AEW might do some. They might be a little more lenient than WWE, but they don't really promote intergender wrestling either, like you see in the independents.
Interesting.
But yeah, it is actually. In fact, Tully Blanchard's daughter, another legendary wrestler, Tessa Blanchard, not her, Tully being the legend. Tessa's another story, but she was actually TNA World Champion, like the men's World Championship at one point.
Well, unfortunately, I mainly only watch WWE, so yeah, it's not something typically
and like I say, even the other major national promotion, AEW, I don't think they really do it either. I don't necessarily think they have as hard a line against as the WWE does.
So it's a lot more common nowadays. It's not on this.
China's shoulder's totally not down there. It does, she kicked out, so no big deal. But I hate when you can obviously tell a wrestler's shoulder is up when they count.
Yeah.
Like the...
it really sucks when they actually count a full...
The first ever women's main event at WrestleMania, the year it was Becky and Charlotte and Ronda Rousey, and Ronda's shoulder was clearly not down at the beginning of the pin. Which, the referee could have easily backed off for a second and restarted his count, but he didn't. Mm-hmm. And it just really looked bad, especially for the first women's main event, to have that shoddy of a pinfall.
You'd think they would have been a lot more cautious to get it right.
Yeah. China setting up the Boston Crab.
Yeah.
Which Jericho called the Walls of Jericho.
Interesting.
Originally, the Walls of Jericho was because the Boston Crab, your opponent's pretty much flat on their belly, and you've got their legs pulled up behind them. Mm-hmm. Jericho with the Lion Salt gets the pin to become the solo Intercontinental Champion. But originally, the Walls of Jericho is a different version of the Boston Crab, where you actually pull your opponent basically straight up vertically, where just their head is on the mat, so it's cranking back on their neck.
Oof.
And I don't know why he changed it. I don't know if it was just easier to put on a wider variety of opponents, or maybe some people didn't like taking the move, but he eventually switched to just a standard Boston
His
Crab.
head did not entirely come out of the ponytail. Just kind of.
But if it had been a full tight ponytail, it probably would have come out too. Mm-hmm. And again, I know a lot of people try to look their best coming into a match, but your hair's clearly gonna go through it during the match.
He would have probably looked fine if his head wasn't partially pulled back like this minute.
Yeah, he's still a douchebag, though.
Yeah. I was going to say something, but now I'm blanking on what I was going to say. Oof, I did not expect my chair to creak.
And that move right there, Jericho called the Lion Salt. It's the Acai Moonsault, which is the moonsault off the middle rope, invented or popularized by Ultimo Dragon, who's real. I don't know if it's his first name or last name because I struggle with Japanese names because it seems like you hear him one way and it's supposed to be the other way, but one of his names is Asai. And so that's where the original move gets his name. And there's The Rock.
The Rock.
Back during his glory days.
He still has hair.
He did have hair back then. I don't know that he's really bald now. I think it might just be a choice more than anything. I mean,
I don't know.
Do you really think he could pull off that hairdo nowadays? That's not really a current style.
He might be able to. I was thinking maybe it was a choice. Like he started to lose his head.
He may have. I don't know.
Just lose all of it. I know he recently came out with.
He recently came out.
I don't know that he technically recently came out with these products, but I don't know. He's at least like the model spokesperson thing for some like shampoos or hair care products and things like that.
Interesting.
One of my friends shared that and it was like, interesting choice for hair products.
I was a big Rock fan back at this point. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he was one of the two biggest stars in wrestling at this point, along with Steve Austin. And I was digging what he was doing. Nowadays, it's like, I don't know. Some of the stuff I've heard about him in his other walks of life, and the fact that he refused to endorse a presidential candidate this year, and his friendship with people like Jeff Bezos, it just seems like he wants to be liked by everybody and doesn't want to choose a side, and sometimes you kind of got to choose a side. Mm-hmm. And I've heard negative things about him behind the scenes, too, like on his movie Red One and whatnot. But, I mean, that stuff is like, I don't know, I wasn't there. I don't want to just take hearsay one way or the other. I didn't experience it. Sometimes you can have a bad experience with someone, but it doesn't make them a bad person. Yeah. But I will say, it all does sort of add up and chip away at you a bit to the point that I'm not as big a Rock fan as I once was. I still can appreciate him wrestling, and I'd still like to see him wrestle Cody at WrestleMania this year. Yeah. Because it just seems to make sense, but he babyfaced himself on Raw, and I think he did the same thing on NXT, even though I didn't actually watch it. So I'm not sure if that's in the cards or not. But it would make sense, and I think it could be a very good match. So, we'll just have to see. I guess maybe now is as good a time as any to talk about the Royal Rumble, which by the time people are hearing this has already happened, but right now we don't know what's going to happen. Anybody have any predictions on it? Like, I have no clue.
No.
I don't have any idea.
I'm going to win.
I don't have any idea who's going to win the Women's Rumble. Like, I don't even have a guess on that.
Hold on. Do you know where the Rumble is happening this year?
I guess I'll find out.
Doesn't even know where he's supposed to be.
Look, I'm just going to keep walking in one direction. I'll get there when I get there, okay?
Well, look, peek behind the curtain. It's 2 o'clock in the morning on the day of the Rumble that we're recording this. You don't have much time. You can still make it there by bell time. Don't get me wrong.
If you're walking, I don't think you're making it.
But,
other modes of transportation.
Anyway, though, Women's Royal Rumble this year, I don't have a clue. In the Men's Rumble, obviously, there's a number of viable candidates. There's a lot of former world champions in the match and a lot of big stars. But I have put some thought into it. Obviously, if The Rock were to show up in it, I would think, okay, he's showing up because he's going to win and go challenge Cody. But I haven't heard that he's going to be in the match. So assuming he's not going to be in the match, I think when it comes down to it, my prediction and my preference would be for CM Punk to win and go challenge Cody at WrestleMania. And I would want it to be a babyface matchup, but maybe Punk could kind of play subtle heel like sometimes wrestlers do when they're in a babyface program. Or he could flat out go heel too, depending on how they want to go. Or, even maybe both of them could have some heel tendencies and they could sort of make it where both of them are being sort of walking the line. But I think that would probably be the best matchup. And I think you could even play in the Paul Heyman connection. It could turn out that's the favor CM Punk asked for when he joined the team at Survivor Series was, I want you to manage me when I get my shot at the world title. Mm-hmm. And they could do something interesting there. And then we'd have the biggest match in AEW history on WrestleMania. So I think that'd be really cool. And I think it'd be a really good match.
Definitely. Real quickly, I just want to say, Jericho kind of looked like a blonde Diesel.
Much shorter.
Well, yeah, shorter, but like face and head.
Diesel's probably got a good foot on him.
No, I want to see them standing next to each other.
Go watch WCW in like 98.
Okay.
Or WWF in like 2002. But as far as the Rumble this year, of course, I may sound ridiculous saying maybe Punk was like the first person eliminated. I don't know, but it feels like it's too early for it to be Roman and Cody again. I mean, they could have that rubber match between them, but it just doesn't feel like this is the right moment. It feels like Roman still has to sort things out with the new bloodline. I think maybe Roman's going to wrestle Jacob Fatu at WrestleMania. That seems to be what they would be leading towards. I think it's too early for Randy Orton to turn on Cody if he's even in the match. I don't think it's, if McIntyre wins, then does Punk have to go after him again because he vowed to never let him win a championship? It just doesn't feel like the right time for McIntyre. Who else is in there? I mean, Seth could win and maybe go... I think Seth could win and challenge Gunther, but I think if that's going to happen, it's going to happen at the Elimination Chamber. I think Cena's the big name that I've heard bandied about who could win and go challenge Cody. But I feel like if they're going to do one last world title challenge for Cena, maybe they can build up to it. Like he could lose the Rumble, he could lose Elimination Chamber, and maybe he could start getting back on his feet with the win over somebody else at WrestleMania, and then maybe come SummerSlam or something, he could challenge Cody. But it'll be interesting to see. And like I said, by the time anybody's hearing this, we'll have already seen.
Yeah.
In the ring right now, Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg Jesse James, the New Age Outlaws, one of the dominant teams of this era, members of D-Generation X, at least the version right after Shawn left. Not the original DX, it was just Shawn and Triple H in China and then Rick Rude for a time. They're going to wrestle the Acolytes here, which is Ron Simmons, late of the aforementioned tag team Doom, and John Bradshaw Layfield, who started out as just sort of like enforcers for Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness when he was doing the satanic gimmick back during the Prime Attitude Era.
Yeah.
And then would just go on to be like a rough and tumble tag team. Actually, they had a gimmick for a while where they were the APA, the Acolyte Protection Agency, and people could hire them to come watch their back or attack other wrestlers and whatnot for them.
Interesting.
And they do a gimmick where they'd always be seen backstage. They'd have like just a door that they'd carry around with them for their office. They didn't have walls or anything, just a door, and they'd be back there playing poker and drinking beer. A lot of really fun skits, and they even showed in some of the previews for this, like, they did a couple different times where they would have a fight at a bar and, bash up the bar. They never really had a dominant run as a team or as champions. They held the belts a couple times, but they were never really a dominant team. They were more of, backstage skits and brawling segments. They were never really dominant in the ring like they could have been. But I liked the idea of the team. I thought they made a good combo.
Yeah.
So I like the Acolytes. I just don't think they... they did meet their potential as far as characters and performers, just not necessarily as an in-ring duo like they could have. But like I said, there were a lot of good teams at this time.
Heavy on the tag teams at the moment.
Especially with the Dudleys and the Hardys and Edge and Christian coming into prominence. Ron with a little dance there. Yeah, you've met that man, Dylan.
Yes.
That's Ron. That's damn.
I've been in the same room as him.
Yeah, I almost bumped into him.
Nice.
He was leaving as I was walking past.
Nice.
But he
Pardon me.
One of the Comic-Cons we did. Yeah,
I should have. Yeah. Really should have.
I don't regret it. Like, it's one of the big regrets of my life. But it's like, I was there. I should have just done it.
Yeah.
And they were so disorganized. We probably could have walked over and not paid. It wouldn't have really mattered.
Quite possibly.
I was a big fan of Ron during his time as a member of Doom. I loved his run as the first black WCW heavyweight champion in '92. I liked him as a member of the Acolytes. So I was always a big fan of Ron Simmons. Maybe the Black Spartacus gimmick he came in WWF with was a little silly, but
one of these days,
even the Nation Domination stuff, I think was well done on his part at least.
Yeah, one of these days I'm gonna do some prints of different wrestlers. And a 10-day Comic-Con that has wrestlers at it. I'm gonna go meet them, and I'm gonna give them my heart. It's like, here's Chibi U. Have a nice day. That's all I needed out of my day.
Thanks, that'll be $10. I don't know, it just depends. You never know.
I mean, honestly, the coolest scenario would be that they get the chance to walk around and come up to my table. I'm like, I want the chibi version of me, please. I'm like, abso-fucking-lutely.
Like, I'll say, too, your mother and I went to one of Bruce Pritchard's live shows, and she wanted to go to the merch table afterwards, and she got a couple things. And Bruce was actually at the table, and I wanted to get a picture with him, and at first it seemed like he was going to charge. Like, apparently, they were charging for pictures.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. And he's like, let me look and see how much it is. And I was going to just tell him, never mind. But then I guess he saw that we bought some or whatever. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. Come on, we'll take the picture. So, I mean, that was nice.
Definitely.
I appreciated it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I know there's
That's what I'm saying. I like the idea of you should judge people. You shouldn't judge people at all, but you should judge based on your experience with them.
Definitely.
But sometimes there are things that would override that. Like, you had a good experience, but you have to realize they've done a lot of shitty things that sort of override that. So it's all got to be on a case-by-case basis. There's no hard, fast rule to go by. But I try not to judge people too harshly if I haven't had any personal experience with them.
I was going to say, there was a con... sorry. Fairly recently that quite a few wrestlers were making appearances at. I don't think it was the wrestling event that happened.
Just to point out really quickly, the Outlaws retained after fellow DX member X-Pac got involved.
Alright. But I was looking into it, and it wasn't one that I got to go to. Again, it was too expensive. But I was looking into, like, what the wrestlers charged for the autographs, pictures, etc. Those prices were expensive, and it varied so drastically, too.
Yeah, they can be.
I think Mick Foley was one of them, and for the price to get both a photo and an autograph for him, you could get one of them from, I think, Bret Hart. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. Some of that is based on, too, what the people are having to pay to get them there, and they're charging for that, so it's not always just the wrestler.
Yeah, and I was going to say, to some degree, it definitely makes sense, too.
I don't begrudge people making money off their hard work, you know. I mean, they built their character up. That's their livelihood. I get it.
Definitely. And,
I'm not necessarily going to pay for it, but...
Yeah. And I understand the price differences, too.
I've met Mick Foley.
Yes. Yes, you have.
You guys were too timid to shake his hand. And my camera messed up and I didn't get the picture of he and Casey, but I did get to shake his hand at least.
He's one I'd like to properly meet nowadays. I tried to get you guys to come up and be in the picture, which didn't happen. Or shake hands and you were just like hanging back. Yeah,
we met Rob Van Dam at that same show.
I was going to say, unfortunately...
And he told me to have a nice weekend.
Nice. Unfortunately, I don't even entirely remember the Mick Foley experience. Like, I kind of do, but I kind of don't, you know.
Yeah.
But he's definitely one I'd like to meet properly nowadays, because he is probably one of, if not my favorite wrestler. Obviously not active, but, you know.
I guess that's like the whole... Bruce Pritchard isn't really a wrestler. He was a manager. Mm-hmm. And more than that, he was creative in wrestling. I met Bruce, I met Mick, I met Rob Van Dam. I didn't meet Ron, I was close to him.
You're just in
Casey
the same
and
room.
Dylan and Johnny met him. And I also have this really esoteric...
Damn, Johnny was around for that, wasn't he?
I have this really esoteric wrestler autograph collection. I have Ron's autograph, I have Bruce's autograph, I have legendary jobber George South's autograph.
You don't have Brett's?
I don't have any on anything other than people we've actually personally met. Even Mick, we don't have any more because the bag he autographed got messed up.
I gotta go check if Brett's attending the con this year.
I have like 8 different Kevin Smith autographs because he autographs everything.
I mean, it's gonna cost me like a couple $100 to be able to go to the con and get his autograph.
I have Jim Cornette's autograph too. His I did actually buy merchandise and he autographs his merchandise. So.
Nice.
I haven't ever met him though.
I'm sorry. Would you like to meet him?
If I wanted to meet anybody in wrestling, he would be near the top of the list for sure. Probably never going to happen because I don't know if he's ever going to leave his house again at this point. But
you never know.
Be high on the list. We're getting ready for the. The Rumble is the main event, but the other main event of the show, the Mick Foley.
Holy shit!
Triple H World Championship match.
Guess who's going to be at GalaxyCon this year?
I'm going to try.
Scott Patterson.
Who?
Plays Luke on Gilmore Girls.
Oh. No one cares.
Mom, we're going to Ollie.
Anyway.
Oh, Sean Gunn's going to be there too.
Anyway, wrestling.
I'm sorry.
We
Gilmore
haven't
Girls.
talking about Sims.
yeah, no, we haven't. Sean Gunn was also Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, I know. He's James Gunn's brother.
Yeah.
He's in all James Gunn's movies.
Cool. I wasn't aware he was in all of them.
I forgot he was in Gilmore Girls, but he is. You're right.
Yeah.
I didn't really watch this. I've just seen episodes.
As a very interesting role, because early on he's not a set character, and then later on he is a regularly occurring character that never has the same job.
Yeah. This is sort of the Mick Foley retirement tour that we're going into here. He would have this match with Triple H, then the official retirement match the next month at the February pay-per-view. Then he'd come back for one match at WrestleMania. Then he'd be off for several years before he'd make sporadic comebacks and then a little bit longer comeback with TNA. This is one of the only matches Mick would wrestle in the WWF under the Cactus Jack persona. Mm-hmm. And I think nowadays Mick considers this, if not his best match, one of his very best matches. Right up there with like the match with Shawn Michaels in '96 at Mind Games, and like the 2 out of 3 Falls match with Eddie Gilbert, and the Randy Orton Intercontinental title match he came back for in 2004. And he'd probably throw the Sting match at Bash at the Beach in there as well.
He seems to have his hair partially pulled back. His looks good, though.
That's not an uncommon do for a wrestler or for anybody with long hair.
Yeah, like I said, I get it, and I do like it in some scenarios. This one looks good. It wasn't working on Jericho for some reason.
Yeah. This match got 4.5 stars in Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer. I think it got either 4.5 or 4 3/4 in the Pro Wrestling Torch, which I was subscribed to at the time. Really, really great match. One of my favorite matches from 2000 and one of my favorite Mick Foley matches ever. Really quickly, speaking of star ratings, because we were talking about them on the last podcast, and I said that I thought Ric Flair and Barry Windham were the first 6-star match, but that Flair and Steamboat had a 6-star match, and then I thought maybe there had been a Japanese match in the early 90s that got it. Apparently, the Flair Steamboat match was the official first 6-star match. And I misspoke and said it was the Philadelphia show. It was actually the Landover, Maryland show, and that was like the afternoon show. And then I think they did the Philly show at night and still had like a 4.5-star match in Philly. Mm-hmm. But the Flair Wyndham match apparently was only a 5-star match. And the first Japanese match to get 6 stars was Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada in 2017. So that Flair Steamboat match from '89 was the standard for almost 20 years.
Damn.
More than 20 years, right?
Maybe.
Because 20 years from '89 would be 2009.
Yeah.
So yeah, almost 30 years.
Damn.
Before anything else approached that. Yeah, Triple H coming to the ring.
I was going to say 2 things.
With his on-screen paramour, Stephanie McMahon. I don't know if they were a couple in real life at this point, but this was the McMahon-Helmsley era where they were sort of running things behind the scenes in storyline.
Yeah. I was going to say 2 things really quickly. One, I've just now, for some reason, realized this is technically Mick Foley and Triple H.
Cactus Jack and Triple H.
Yeah. But, is Triple H still your favorite wrestler, Dylan?
Of all time, because he's not a current wrestler, of course.
Yeah, he does behind-the-scenes stuff now, doesn't he?
Yeah. He pretty much runs the creative in WWE.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, because Mick Foley's my favorite, and at least at one point, Triple H would have been Dylan, so I was pointing that out.
We should point out Triple H, it was announced as going in the WWE Hall of Fame as a singles wrestler this year. Already a member of the Hall of Fame as part of the DX faction, but...
Nice. But also appropriately, I was scrolling through that Comic-Con information. The only pro wrestler announced so far to be there this year, Mick Foley. I can't go get Brett's autograph based on this information, but
Mick Foley would probably be right outside my top 5. He'd probably be in the next tier of favorite wrestlers. I was a huge Mick Foley fan.
I was going to say, though, if I get the chance to go to this con this year, I have another chance at meeting Mick Foley.
Hoisting the big eagle, Triple H staring down his opponent.
If I want a selfie and his autograph, it's $100. It's also like $70 just to attend the show.
I want you guys to watch as much of this match as you can. I know we got to talk about it too, but this is a really, really great match. I highly recommend checking this out. And it'd be better if you could watch it with the commentary, of course, because it's always better to have the sounds of the ring and the crowd and the commentary. At least if the commentary is good and everything's mic'd well.
Yes.
A blow from Mick. Triple H firing back. I'm only saying this to try to give people time cues because I completely forgot to be trying to give them something.
Oops.
Into the turnbuckle, Mick sends Triple H. Triple H staggers to the far corner, boot to the gut, and Mick meets the turnbuckle. Punches from Triple H. Technically illegal, although this is a street fight, so I guess it's not illegal.
What? Punching?
Punching is technically illegal in a standard wrestling match, but this is a street fight, so it's anything. It's not a falls count anywhere match, but it is an anything goes match. So if somebody wants to pull out a Glock and shoot their opponent, I guess they technically could. They might be arrested for murder afterward or attempted murder, but they could at least win the match.
No, it's human non-lethal area.
Well, I mean, it still might be attempted murder if you shoot them with a deadly weapon. Because, I mean, how can you say you were specifically aiming for the non-lethal area? Baseball slide doesn't connect. Swinging neck breaker on the floor.
Okay, real quick, I just want to say he's there all 4 days. The cheapest day go on Thursday, which I think is only a partial day. $45. I'm looking at under $200.
Mick is back in the ring. Triple H is still on the outside. Triple H back on the apron now.
What else you can do?
Leg drop by Mick Foley over the rope, and Triple H bounces back to the outside.
Say, look, Mick Foley is great, and I would love to meet him, but I don't think I would spend $200 specifically to do that.
You spend $500 on Hatsune Miku figures.
If I had $500, I'd just book a table at that show.
What would you spend on Hatsune Miku figures?
You guys want to take a guess at Triple H's first name in wrestling? Terror Rising. And then he went to WCW as Jean-Paul Levesque, which is just his... Well, his real name is Paul Levesque. They added the Jean. And then he came to WWF because he was doing like a rich European aristocrat gimmick. And then he came to WWF basically doing the same gimmick, but then he became Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And then, Attitude Era, he started becoming more of a realistic character, and he adopted the Triple H for Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Interesting.
Moniker, and he called himself the Game. He's like, I'm not just a student of the game, I am the game. And then eventually got the best entrance music of all time with the Motorhead song.
Interesting.
Still, the Motorhead song Time to Play the Game, still my favorite entrance music of all time.
Also, really quickly, I'd like to correct myself. I would not spend that money on that table at that show for several reasons. However, I would order a Japanese doll.
Triple H brandishing a
What kind
chair
of
as
Japanese
Mick
doll?
gets back to his
Fashion doll.
feet.
Ah.
It's called a smart doll, though. They're really fucking cool.
Just runs right into a headshot
Look,
with the
this
chair.
thing Japanese doll.
Yeah,
can be a lot,
yeah.
man.
That doesn't age well.
It's a fashion doll like Barbie, but it's like 2 feet tall, and
We're
they're
having
really
two different
cool.
conversations here.
Remember when we were talking about The Sims at one point?
Look, this is one of the spot. You can talk about The Sims during the Rumble. There's going to be dead time during it.
There's never
gonna be a
dead
long
time when
time doing
McFoley's in the ring. What?
They're gonna be a live.
Might depend on the
time
opponent.
Nope.
Well, I mean, the Rumble itself is going to be like 50 minutes, so...
Okay,
That's a
what's
lot.
some of the worst matches McFoley has had?
Maybe Mick's 1999 run with Val Venus. He and Paul Orndorff against... Or no, he and Kevin Sullivan against Paul Orndorff and Paul Rome at Bash at the Beach 2000... Not 2000. Bash at the Beach 94. Because Mick was hurt during that and he barely even tagged in. And it was just a really long, boring match.
His other character, not Cactus Jack, the other one I'm trying to think of.
Mankind.
Yes. I'm suddenly imagining that as a Toka character.
Maybe some of the Mankind Owen Hart matches at house shows, but just because they were trying to be silly. Or like some of his ECW matches when he was doing the anti-hardcore gimmick where he would just hold a headlock for most of the match. But that was intentionally bad, so...
Yeah. And picturing Mankind as a Toka character, like the specific outfit and everything I have in mind, I certainly need that as a keychain.
But to be fair, he also has a laundry list of great matches as well. Not only all the ones I mentioned, but
Hell in
he
the
and,
Cell.
he and Kevin Sullivan in this Broad Street Bully street fight against the Nasty Boys at Slamboree in 94 is one of my all-time favorite matches. His matches with Vader, especially the one at Halloween Havoc and the Texas Death Match in 93. I mean, Mick Foley has an incredible career.
What I
full of
love
great
about
matches.
McFoley is how absolutely committed he is to.
One thing that I
job.
think's amazing about Mick is if you think about wrestlers, most of them have like one or two signature opponents. And we talked about how Ric Flair had so many in Blackjack Mulligan and Wahoo McDaniel and Sting and Ricky Steamboat. Mick's the same way. Like he's got so many legendary feuds and so many wrestlers he helped make and so many wrestlers he had absolutely great matches with. Again, Sting, Vader, Triple H, The Rock, Steve Austin, The Undertaker. I mean, and the list probably Eddie Gilbert. So, I mean, he's one of those, like, he doesn't just have one or two signature opponents, he's got a half a dozen or more.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to, his skill at being able to hold up his end of any kind of match with any kind of opponent.
Yeah, I'm always...
There's just a pile of bricks there.
I see.
I don't know if that was just for the ambiance, because clearly they have, like, the walls painted like, they're bricks with graffiti on them, or if they actually put the stuff there for them to use during this match.
I don't know.
Got a couple wooden pallets there that Mick's stacking up.
That are falling apart. I've seen various matches of his where he gets injured a fair bit.
Suplex
and
on the pallets.
I've always found it very impressive how he just takes the injuries, just goes all in, and it's like, yeah, this fucking hurts at hell.
Yeah, but but to be
but-
fair, that's a lot of wrestlers too.
Yeah, definitely. Personally, watching
Mick has a
through,
reputation for the
I
wild
have
matches
seen a
and the
lot
big bumps, but I mean, most
of Mick
wrestlers,
doing it.
fight through the pain.
Oh, definitely. No, one of the
So
first...
I don't want to diminish Mick, but I
Yeah.
don't want to diminish any of the other wrestlers.
Yeah, no, I'm
either.
not trying to diminish any of the others either. I know it is very much a thing throughout wrestling. But one of the... I don't even know what show it said what it was, but one I can vividly remember watching at some point, you showing me at some point, whatever. There was thumbtacks and barbed wire involved. Both with Mick.
Yeah.
And
that could be multiple. different
Yeah, that
matches
could be
too,
several. I just remember watching, just thumbtacks all over the freaking mat, Mick just right down on it, all over his back
match
and
with
everything.
Randy Orton. It could be the Hell in a Cell with Undertaker.
I know it wasn't that one, because you showed me that one later on.
It could be later on in this match.
But that's the thing, too, Hell in a Cell, that match with Undertaker. Yeah.
Fucking Undertaker, too. Another
I'm sorry.
disappointment.
Mick's not a disappointment, right?
Nope. Mick was solidly against Donald Trump.
Mick's still going strong.
And he's, somebody who's not afraid to pick a side, and he picked what is, in my opinion, the right side. Triple H just backdropped or back suplexed Mick on a trash can.
Ouch.
I do like
Close to the
the
trash
I do
can.
like the brick wall graffiti setup they've got
Same.
in the walkway. I didn't even notice that earlier.
I don't think... I mean, I did, but I didn't.
It makes for a nice setting, at least for this match.
Yeah.
They've even got a manhole cover on the floor. And they've got the walkway painted. I noticed none of that during any of the other matches. Did they like do that in between matches or something? Because I swear the only thing I noticed.
I didn't notice like the road painting situation.
Yeah, and the Hardys and Dudleys were balling out there. So
I was gonna say though, I don't think the cameras have shown a whole lot of the floor so far. And yeah, you pointed out they were out there, but they also had the tables and everything set up out there.
They're back to ringside now, and they've got the black ring apron.
Yeah.
How do we feel about the all black mat?
No.
On Raw now. That is horrible. I mean, never mind all the advertisements on it. That's another story. But just the idea that it's a black mat with black sides, it looks like it never ends.
I was going to say, it's not the worst they could do, but yeah, I don't like it. I want the white mat back, please.
There needs to be some contrast there.
But then I just imagine, what if, just for the fuck of it, one time, a green mat? They're essentially wrestling on a green screen.
Well, no. Oh, God. I'm not going to get the year right, but Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt, when Bray Wyatt was deep into one of his supernatural gimmicks, this is pre-Fiend, but it was, Wyatt family era, and they had, like, images projected on the mat.
Interesting.
It was, like these crazy horror images. There's Mick with barbed wire wrapped around the board.
Barbed wire.
Now, as I understand it, they actually used two different kinds. They used the real barbed wire for Mick, for him to get hit with, and Triple H used the fake barbed wire, which is basically just wire with... using solder to make fake barbs. And then, but Triple H expressed regret for having not used the real barbed wire, because for one thing, it still hurt and it just looked crappy.
No, I don't want to get hit with barbed wire. Hit me. Bring out the barbed wire.
And then when they did their Hell in a Cell match the following month, they went ahead and just used real barbed wire for both of them.
So that's my thing, though. It's like, Mick is like, yep, hit me with the real stuff.
I maybe check out Mick's second book, Foley is Good.
Meanwhile, that
for
stuff...
the full story.
Would scare me. I remember we went to Wisconsin and I was trying to push a salt rock thing back into the pen for the cows. And I almost tripped into that freaking barbed wire fence. I can imagine that would not have been fun. I mean, that stuff is meant for you to completely get caught on. Painful scratches.
Don't mind me, I'm just looking at Foley is Good real quick.
Okay, when you're done, pass it here. I'll start reading it.
I just remembered I happen to have the book right here on the shelf behind me. See if I could find out for sure if what I said was right.
Plank of wood.
I think there's a picture from the match.
Amazing. That's the thumbnail.
For the first time, I felt like I was in shape when I stepped into the ring in Madison Square Garden for the Royal Rumble. I had been training hard and knew I was prepared. I walked back into the dressing room mirror 27 minutes later with a half dozen thumbtacks stuck in the temple area of my head, barbed wire holes in my back and stomach, sweat pouring out of my body, and a feeling of total professional redemption. I wish it had been my last match. It was that good. Triple H was at his absolute best here, and I was only a small step behind. The Rumble match was a brutal, beautiful, emotional affair, and in many ways was like a dream come true. He doesn't talk maybe he talks about it when he's talking about the follow-up match. That would make sense. Goodbye Cactus, chapter 33 of the book. You guys aren't talking anything about the match. I'm reading a book. You have to talk.
Well, you were reading out loud, so...
I've stopped temporarily.
Mix was holding the referee for a reason. I was also trying to read the captions we've got going on. Mick just attacked one of the announcers. They have the barbed wire behind the announcement table, though. They are giving it... The other one handed it to him. He did not want to get attacked. It almost looks like they fixed it.
Like they fixed the board? Well, like I said, there were two different ones, apparently.
Well, then they probably swapped it out, maybe, or something. I don't know. Because the other one, the barbed wire, was, like, coming off of the plank. And it ended up behind the announcer's table. And then Mick just went over there, kind of threatening them and getting it back. And that barbed wire is perfectly on the plank.
Indeed.
Still reading. Y'all need to talk.
Yeah, I was still watching the match.
If Triple H is getting hit with it, I would assume this is the fake barbed wire.
Yeah.
Which apparently was still ended up hurting, so...
Well, I mean, I would imagine it still does. It, even if it's not barbed, it is still metal.
I found the appropriate paragraph.
Hitting you.
I had regretted using two separate 2x4s at the Royal Rumble. One wrapped with barbed wire and one wrapped in a different wire with soldering metal taking the place of the barbs. The shots I took to the back and stomach had been done with legitimate wood, and a shot that Hunter took to the head had involved the other one. Afterward, he still had holes in his head and regretted not being hit by the real deal. And in the follow-up match, they just used regular barbed wire for all of it. So I was correct.
Nice.
That, again, from Mick's second memoir, Foley is good.
Yeah.
And the real world is often faker than professional wrestling.
Yeah, and we have established the swap out.
Triple H is bleeding. It, probably from a blade, probably not from the wire anyway. But maybe, because Mick did say it still put holes in him. But it's not uncommon, even if you're using instruments that can cause you to bleed, for you to still use a blade and help it along.
Just to either one, get
As I
into the bleeding,
understand, I've never done it
worsen the
myself.
bleeding.
Triple H wearing the crimson mask. Mick stalks his prey.
Ouch.
Short punches to the forehead. Those look pretty stiff, too.
The bleeding forehead and everything.
Yeah.
Oof.
Help open it up, get that blood flowing.
I saw a lot of people when it was,
Another tip to bleeding while in a wrestling match, you should take like an aspirin or have a couple beers before the match.
Interesting. But, it's when it was promoting, announced, etc., that Raw was going to be on Netflix. I saw a lot of people, mainly on, like, Facebook and comments going on about how Netflix doesn't have restrictions in terms of bleeding and whatnot on such programs. So they were curious / hoping that WWE would bring back such stuff.
They've also gone back and forth on USA, too, on how restricted they are. And even on pay-per-view, they've self-restricted a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So it's more about what the company wants, but obviously they are going to work with their partners as well.
Yeah.
Mick setting up what could be the stump pile driver on the announce desk. Triple H going to backdrop. Here we go. Up. Yep. Backdrop.
Oof.
Good thing they missed the monitor, because that would have hurt. Nowadays,
they didn't go through until Triple H
Nowadays they have those little flat screens that aren't any big deal, but back then they had those big chunky
bulky
monitors. And
thinking about bulky monitors.
The announcers have purple chairs too.
Yeah. This seems to pretty much be the same chairs in the audience.
That's a
The most blood I think I've ever seen in a match is Eddie Guerrero in his match against JBL at, I don't think it was Great American Bash 2004, so it was the pay-per-view, whatever the May pay-per-view was that year. I'm not exactly sure what name they were using at the time. It could have been Unforgiven was traditionally a September pay-per-view, but I think they did an Unforgiven in May once or twice, so it might have been Unforgiven. But whatever the May 2004 pay-per-view was, Eddie Guerrero, he just hit a gusher, man. Mm-hmm. It's almost hard to watch. There's so much blood. Oh, gosh. And, of course, I've seen Flair bleed like crazy and stain his white hair red.
Mm-hmm. I wish I could remember what the match that Grammy told me about was. The one that they saw in person with Mimi. And Grammy said it was just like the bloodiest match she had personally ever seen. Meanwhile, Mimi was sitting there going crazy for it.
Oh, look, Triple H's leg is bleeding too.
Interesting.
That's
just
probably hard.
Having a great time.
And that's Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling in the 70s or 80s. There would have been a lot of blood then. I mean, that's the era of Ric Flair and Abdullah the Butcher. And it could have been a number of people.
Yeah. Like I said, unfortunately, I can't remember the match.
Just for those who don't know, when I said hard way means you got cut accidentally and it just happened, as opposed to doing it intentionally with a razor blade or some other instrument. Like I said, it's very common to initiate bleeding on purpose to make it look like it accidentally happened, but it's also not uncommon for it to accidentally happen. Why did you break glute?
I didn't! I was just sitting here. I wiped the fingerprints off of his eyes.
Alex's younger brother had a Marvel pop figure, mini pop figure advent calendar for Christmas a couple years ago, and Alex just beheaded Groot.
Why did he behead Groot?
Alex decapitated Groot during a wrestling match. I tried to wipe the fingerprints off of
Groot
his
has been
eyes.
beheaded. We'd take a moment of silence for Groot.
Oh, Mick just took a sick
Moment of silence for Groot.
I was just trying to wipe the fingerprints off of him.
How dare you? How dare you?
It's like $40 now for this advent calendar.
I've got some super glue.
You're getting judged right now.
That's cool.
Watch this replay here.
They got
Mick
super
takes
glue.
the hip toss into the steps. Pretty much just hit his butt on the steps, but I guess his leg did kind of whip over the top of it.
my butt.
And then he took the bump over it. That's the big signature bump. He points out in one of his books how a lot of guys will drop down and take the steps with their shoulder, but he liked to take it on his upper thighs and cut a flip over it.
Interesting.
to give the illusion of the steps actually stopping his momentum and causing him to flip over, rather than him actually intentionally running into them.
Imagining how awful it would feel to smack your tailbone against those steps. And I'm sure it hurts to smack just about anything against some. But I can imagine tailbone would really, really hurt.
Referee for this match, Earl Hebner, of course famous for being the referee in the Montreal Screwjob.
Yes.
Amongst other things. I mean, I shouldn't diminish his career into a single moment. He was a referee for a long time before that, both with Jim Crockett Promotions and the WWF. And
Makey has returned for McFoley. Or did you return for Triple H?
he was also the referee in the famous twin referee angle
Mm-hmm.
in the main event in February of 1988 when Andre won the championship from Hogan in front of probably still the biggest audience ever to watch a wrestling match.
Nice.
Something like 33 million homes or 33 million viewers.
Good gosh. That sounds...
And that wasn't even number one for the night back then. It was a different world back then when cable wasn't so prevalent and there wasn't a million different streaming services and it was mainly just 3 big networks.
Yeah.
You had a much more condensed audience for programs.
Makes sense.
Triple H stumbling outside the ring.
Makey seems to be enjoying this match.
Snatching something from Howard Finkel. What did Howard have?
I have
Howard's
no idea.
Did he take the mic? No. Oh, is it thumbtacks? And why did Howard Finkel? Oh no, it's handcuffs. Why did Howard Finkel have a bag of handcuffs at ringside? I'm very confused now why the ring announcer needed a bag with handcuffs in it.
You don't put
Well,
on a
you
bag
never
with
know.
handcuffs?
He had plans later on.
This would mirror both a match that Mick had with Shane Douglas in ECW, where Mick was handcuffed and Shane Douglas hit him with a chair, and of course the infamous I Quit match at the Royal Rumble the previous year where The Rock handcuffed Mick and was supposed to hit him with like 4 chair shots, but it ended up being something more like 11 and was kind of an out of control scene and not something that was very much fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But they sort of are playing off of that, I think, in a slightly safer manner at this point. But
What kind of boots is he wearing?
leopard skin.
Interesting.
Probably not real leopard skin, but meant to look like leopard skin.
Like a leopard print
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, that was Mick's. That was Cactus's signature. I'm sorry.
Why?
Just probably the first pair of boots he got back when he was a young wrestler and could only afford what he could afford, but then it was part of the look of the character, so he stuck with it.
Snake would have made most sense in my opinion.
Again, though, like I say, probably what he could get at the time.
Yeah.
I could probably go back and look in his first memoir.
I mean, if you're
Have a
gonna
Nice
do
Day,
some
A
sort
Tale
of-
of Blood and Sweat Socks, but I don't have it on the shelf behind me, so... No, I think that's amongst the books of mine that have disappeared. I had a stack of books that I kept on a table in my bathroom, and I cleaned out the table, and I packed the books up, and I can't find them now. They've just disappeared.
I think the bag of books of yours I saw was a more recent set that you packed up.
That's
Not-
the only thing I packed up recently. If you've seen a bag of my books, let me know where they are. I want to find out, because I've been dying to figure out where I put these books.
Also, I'm thinking it's something more recent, something you were already aware of or something.
Because I wasn't even intending to keep
See,
them
I
packed
don't.
up. I was just...
I don't
was just-
recall where it was, but I was in the basement not that long ago,
We were
and
just
there's
doing
like a white
we were just
trash
doing like a
bag
spring
of your
cleaning, and
books.
yeah, no, please, I want to see it because I've been dying. I have not been able to find them. Make dropping the headbutt on the groin. Still handcuffed, still fight. These aren't handcuffs like you think about with the very tiny chain where your hands are all together. They have like the long chain where his hands are basically on his hips, just chained behind his back. For anyone not watching along, I think Mick is biting him now.
Oh, that's one thing.
I mean,
to
to be
do.
fair though, if you're A, it's an anything goes match, so it's still legal. B, he's handcuffed, so he can only do so much. Big clothesline from Triple H. How's your man doing, Dylan? How you rate Triple H's performance?
Bloody.
Bloody swell.
For the record,
The bloody swell
for the
performance.
record, and I'm a Triple H fan. Don't get me wrong. He's not my favorite wrestler by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not a Triple H hater. But what is it about Triple H that appealed to you to make him your favorite wrestler? Do you even
He said
remember?
it's time to play the game.
I was just curious what it was that made him your favorite. You've never really enunciated or elucidated it.
I've explained McFoley. My other favorite was Batista, and what made me
Back.
made him one of my favorites was that I had a
Because I
teddy bear
bought
of
you a
him.
plush bear.
Exactly.
When your grandfather and I
We
went
have
to
a very
SmackDown.
simple reason.
Grandfather and I went to SmackDown when you were a little kid, and I bought you a bear pack.
It had almost nothing to do with him. It was a simple fact of you bringing me home a teddy bear of
I
him.
also got you a Lita t-shirt at one of the
I remember
Raw we
that
went to.
t-shirt.
It was the Raw where Lita came back after her neck injury.
I remember that t-shirt. Was not one of my favorite wrestlers though. The teddy bear one.
To be fair, she probably didn't wrestle a whole lot after that. She wasn't as
I would say, to be
prominent a
fair,
character
how
in that
much
era.
of Batista have I even
You've seen
really
Batista
seen
live
wrestle?
twice.
Oh damn!
You saw him you saw him beat Triple H in a non-title match in a house show in the run-up to WrestleMania 2001, where Batista won his first world title in a show that we're going to be watching later this year. And when we went to SmackDown Live, another show we're going to be watching at the end of this year, Batista was featured on that show as well. So you've seen him twice.
Nice.
2 of the 3 wrestling shows you've been to, you've seen Batista.
Unfortunately,
We've been to 4 wrestling shows. So I forgot we went to Raw. And The Rock comes out to interject himself in the match.
Oh wow. So unfortunately, I don't have strong memory of a lot of the live wrestling shows we've been to. Even that most recent one.
Even the one from 2018.
Yeah. It's like, I remember bits of it.
To be fair, it wasn't a
but-
very memorable show.
I remember
It was not the
bits
greatest.
of it.
It was not the
but-
greatest Raw. To be fair, even the Raws I've been to were like lackluster Raws. They were like, eh.
I'm sorry.
And like the 2 Nitros I went to. Now, one of them was Arn Anderson's retirement. And his retirement speech, that was very memorable. But not much else was memorable from the 2 Raws. And the one episode of WCW Thunder I went to, which we did watch on the show a couple years ago, was only memorable because Buff Bagwell got his neck broken in the middle of it. And,
Damn.
you know, like an hour of the show had to be spent dealing with him. So otherwise, wasn't much memorable going on.
I'm sorry. If I could get some tickets to go to Raw again, you want
Really,
to
I think like the Thanksgiving edition of SmackDown, which is probably
Oh,
where I got the Batista bear for you. It's probably the most memorable one because they had a really good tag team match with Edge and Ray against Benoit and Angle, and they had like a food fight. And I remember not that long ago I was rewatching that episode of SmackDown on the WWE Network on Peacock. And when Stephanie McMahon came out, I was pausing it because I was trying to see if I could see me and my dad in the crowd. And one of the frames I paused on, Stephanie was making her way out. And Johnny was like, "Is that Mommy?"
Let me see.
So Stephanie McMahon and I have a special connection. She just doesn't know anything about it.
Okay, unfortunately, I cannot afford tickets to next Raw. It's unfortunately later this month. I don't have enough time to save $120.
Raw's going to be in North Carolina this month.
Yeah, in Charlotte on February 17th.
Yeah, I don't want to go to Charlotte anyway.
I heard something. Maybe it was something else. I heard something was coming to Greensboro. I thought it was
Could be
wrestling,
Raw
but it could
or
have been a
AEW.
concert. Could have been a concert, like I said. I get ads for
Well,
various
you've seen the barbed wire. We've had chairs now. It's time for thumbtacks.
Of course.
Which really, when you think about it, are kind of silly. Unless you're going to get it in somebody's eyes or something, they're really not going to do that much damage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess they make a nice visual because they're shiny, and if you get slammed in them, you can have a lot of them sticking in you. And I'm not saying they're not painful, but it's not the kind of painful that's really going to lose you a match either, I wouldn't think.
Don't want to imagine a bunch of thumbtacks.
Oh, speaking of
stuck in
Stephanie,
you.
she's back out now.
I once stepped on an earring, and that was miserable. And I'm just imagining thumbtacks are comparable, but you have several of them in you. And also, I mean, they're the flat ones, and so that's gonna hurt
Again,
to try to take out.
Not saying it's not painful.
and be difficult to take out.
But compare... Oh, Nick just took the backdrop in him. Here we go. Here comes... Oh, Stephanie. Here comes the money shot.
Just like rolls in them too.
You know, he's got to make sure he's got plenty sticking in him so the crowd can see.
I mean, he's
again,
sparkly now.
Like I say, I'm not saying it doesn't hurt, but compared with the moves they take, compared with getting hit with chairs and running into the stairs, it's not the same level
and
of
his
pain.
arm, and he's
the
being
pedigree.
grabbed and
This
thrown
is
and
probably
laying
the
on his
finish.
back.
1, 2. Oh, Mick kicked out. That was not the finish. One
just
pedigree was
imagining
not
him
enough.
After this match, him and probably an assistant sitting there picking them all out. Ugh.
I don't think Mick had an assistant. He might get an assist from
Oh, yeah, that's what I
somebody.
meant. Just somebody helping him. I don't think he's able to reach back and pull all the thumbtacks
I bet a lot of them
out.
would come out as soon as you take your shirt off, though.
Yeah.
Oh, pedigree in the thumbtacks. Now that's a bit dangerous. Obviously, there's potential for them to get in your eyes, and he's got some right above his eyes. 3. That's the finish.
That is
Great match.
dangerously
Thumbtacks were maybe a little silly. Maybe some of the chair shots were unnecessary, but
One way to make
an
yourself stumble.
absolutely outstanding match. One of the best of the year. One of Mick's favorite matches all time. One of the best, and again, a career full of great matches. One of Triple H's best matches. Highly recommend checking it out. Triple H's boots are full of thumb and his knee pads.
Yeah.
Like, so he didn't get it nearly as bad as Mick.
I would hope something like the knee pads.
He pretty
It's
much
mostly
just
in the
has it
knee
in
pad,
his clothing,
not his
but
knee. Even his boots,
visually,
maybe.
You can see them. Visually, you can see them. Great description there, Maddie. Visually, you can hear them.
I would just like to inform WWE that Toronto is not near Charlotte.
No.
It's like,
yeah, I know. I get like stuff like because I've bought tickets
neither is Vegas.
for WWE before. No. I got an advertisement for the Australia show.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I clicked on, it said, events near Charlotte, North Carolina. It's showing me Paris, France.
It was like, get your tickets now because WWE comes to Australia. It's like, that's
sorry,
as
Dad,
far away from me as possible.
Even if I had that kind of money, well, I just absolutely don't, and I just do not have the ability to take you to France to watch a wrestling show.
I mean, to be fair, if I was going to go somewhere out of the country, Australia would be high on my list.
I was gonna say, you want to go to France for a wrestling show?
Not really.
See, the only thing there is it's gonna cost me however much for the tickets, then the hotel, and all the traveling, and also passports.
After that match,
Like,
Triple H goes.
that's
Triple H is the
expensive.
winner, but he's going out on the stretcher, and Mick's walking out. Oh, I don't think Triple H is going to be on that stretcher for long.
So many refs. Where did they all come from?
Where did they go? Oh, Mick's wheeling him back on the stretcher.
Interesting.
Mick the disorderly
All the refs are chasing them again. Oof. Oof.
dumps him on the ring apron.
Still full of thumbtacks.
Yeah, this feud was not over. Like I said, they would go on to have a Hell in a Cell at the next pay-per-view, which would officially be Mick's retirement match, and then Mick would come back for the one match at WrestleMania in the 4-way for the World Championship, which also featured Triple H, and then he'd be gone for, this is 2000, right?
Yes.
So I think end of 2003 is when he would come back, and that's when you start the angle with Randy Orton that would lead to the handicap match at WrestleMania, and then the classic street fight or Falls Count Anywhere match, whatever it was, at Backlash that year.
Only WWE event I can find for the Carolinas is that upcoming Raw.
All these thumbtacks in your
If you want to go watch some not WWE wrestling, though.
like AEW or like independent promotions.
Independent. I was going to be like, I know some people. They do some shows actually like 30 minutes from us.
I'm not coming down on them.
I'm probably afford those.
I'm also not going to go out of my house and risk getting COVID or bird flu or something for an independent. I'm not going to go out of my. I'm not going to do it for WWE or AEW at this point either. So
yeah, no. One of the cons I
honestly,
went to, they
if
had
stuff
some
like
independent wrestling going on.
if stuff like that wasn't a
fun to
concern,
watch.
I wouldn't have a problem going and checking out an independent show.
Yeah, maybe one day. Like I said, the one I know they recently started doing it at a new venue.
I wouldn't necessarily want to spend a
It's
whole bunch
only
of money doing it.
Maybe
but
not even 30 minutes.
That guy in
from
the
us.
background there with the bald head kind of looks like a young Lance Storm. He's not on
Interesting.
camera now.
Yeah, we're back to
Triple H in the
now.
hallway.
It
Back to
almost
JR
looked
and
like
the
he had a
King.
thumbtack in his back.
And the guy with the hat almost looks like Pat Contry from
The
YouTube.
thumbtack is back.
Pat is from New Jersey. He could have been. And he is a wrestling fan. He actually could have been at this show. I don't think it's him. I think that guy's probably a little older than Pat.
Okay.
'Cause I think Pat's like maybe a year or two younger than me, if that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then again, what? Fuck, I was 20 on this show. Yeah. I guess it could be, actually. I don't know. I'll have to research that a little bit. Maybe it is. Pat, the NES punk, is who I'm speaking of, for anyone who doesn't know his last name. And there's Jonathan Coachman at the short-lived WWF New York, which was their restaurant in Times Square.
AEW's closest event, it seems, to the Carolinas is actually in Georgia, and it's on what day is this going up on?
February 2nd.
It's 3 days from the time this is uploaded.
They did Revolution with Sting's last match in Greensboro. If I was going to go out of the house for anything, it probably
It would have been that one.
And I didn't, so
Yeah.
that was a hell of a match. I really enjoyed it. That was probably my favorite match in 2024.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, really well done. And maybe the glass spot was a little over the top, but damn it, it was a visceral thing to watch.
That was a great match.
It's just Jonathan Coachman and Lennon McMahon. Not much to talk about. This would be a good
Sims?
time to talk Sims.
Okay, back to Sims.
Sims?
Yeah, okay. So I was trying to say, Sims 2, they re-released it, doesn't even have all of the content. They're charging $30, which is roughly close to
most of the content.
most, but not all.
They're not IKEA.
Exactly.
Which
And I mean, also it doesn't have
It's
store
fair.
content, but that was
sounds
always
true.
expected. But I'm just saying, between that and the issues, it's a 21-year-old game. They're selling it for roughly half the cost of a brand new game.
yeah.
I mean, Sims 4 is literally free to download for the base game, so...
I hate that, but
I mean, yeah, but if you want to get into Sims, hey, this
That's-
one's free, and it's the modern
I'd say
game.
like $20 it should be max.
Max, yeah, that's what they have Sims 1 set as. It's
Yeah.
20. They're doing Sims 2 for 30.
I mean, I was saying $20 is the price of Valentine.
Interesting. Well, I was going to say, like,
would
to
you
some
rather
degree-
$20? I thought originally it was 10.
Is it 10?
I thought it was.
Is it 10 or 20? I forget.
Stardew's $14.99.
It might
Yeah.
be 10.
Hold on.
So yeah, would you rather buy Sims 2 or 3 Undertales? It's been a while since I bought
Well,
one.
that answer's going to
Well, you
vary.
really don't need two of them, to be fair.
But
Maybe you don't. It might be 10. It's been a while
I'm
since I
looking
bought
it up. I'm looking it up. Where do we buy it?
Why not? It's $7 off.
It's on sale for $3.
$2.50.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's 10.
Anyway, I was trying
Yo,
to say,
would you rather Sims 2 or how many Undertales would that be?
I don't know. Obviously, that
Like
answer is
12
gonna vary for
Undertales?
so many reasons. But to some degree, this is cool. Okay, you for nostalgia's sake, you wanna you're a newer player who wants a chance to experience the older games, whatever. But it doesn't even seem like they've done much to actually make them work on the current systems. But my big thing is, they're charging $30 for it. Meanwhile, it was 11 years ago, it was 2014, EA gave that away. It's called the Ultimate Collection. It includes the IKEA stuff pack. They gave it away completely free. And I've heard mixed things. One thing, it was like only if you previously owned it, and then they changed it where like anybody could redeem the code for a limited time. And I was thinking it was only over a weekend, an entire week maybe. But then I also read something that no, they actually just made it free for anyone for a few years. And it's like now they're like, hey, we're gonna give you the same thing with less content and charge you $30 for it.
All right,
think.
the Rumble's starting.
Cool.
In the ring, first wrestler out is D'Lo Brown.
Interesting entrance.
What, his entrance?
Yes.
Okay.
The way he was walking out.
The bobblehead look?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's D'Lo.
Okay.
Not rocking the chest protector. For a long time, he was doing a gimmick where he had a chest protector because he had an injury, and then they play it up like, oh, is the chest protector helping him in his matches because it's adding more impact to his moves like the frog splash.
Interesting.
I didn't notice in the closed captioning how many minutes were supposedly going in between entries. Of course, the first two are going to start right away. Grandmaster Sexay, a.k.a. Brian Christopher, a.k.a. Brian Lawler, the son of commentator Jerry Lawler.
AK, not a fan.
A.k.a. another wrestler who's since passed away.
RIP.
I mean, he was... Before long, it's going to be him and his partner, Scotty 2 Hotty, with the Usos' dad, Rikishi, doing like a dancing gimmick that got over really big.
Interesting.
It's more, he wasn't supposed to be taken super serious. And
Yeah.
Maybe at this point the character was, but before long he was going to just be a parody.
Yeah.
So anyway, for the Rumble, obviously you start out with two wrestlers, and every so often another wrestler will come in, and to eliminate your opponent, you throw them out over the top rope until there's only one wrestler left. Different years, it can be a minute in between entrance, it can be 90 seconds, it can be... I don't think I've ever seen more than 2 minutes for a regular Rumble. And it's never consistent. They always just... It's more about when the right moment in the match comes. So if you time it, you're going to get a range from, 49 seconds to a minute 49 to 2:10.
I was going to
But I don't know what the gimmick is this year. I don't remember if it was a minute. In Actually, the match only lasts 51 minutes according to the Wrestling Observer write-up. So it's probably a minute in between entrance.
I was going to say, I would
Maybe
imagine...
90 seconds. Definitely not 2 minutes.
Whatever the timing is, even not being consistent or whatever, I would imagine they wouldn't let it go much longer than it's supposed to be. Maybe fairly shorter, but not much longer than it's supposed
It can
to
go
be.
longer, though. Like I said, we've actually sat here and timed it just for the fun of it. And, if it's supposed to be 2 minutes, it can be like 2:30.
I
It's not going to be like
short-
5 minutes.
Yeah,
or anything, but
I was gonna say
it's
just
going to be
short
within a
span
minute,
of
one way or the other.
seconds doesn't seem bad. I was gonna say, could they do some sort of selling point where it does just go much longer than it's supposed to be? Maybe even to the point where they're like, okay, can the next person come out?
Probably not, because that would expose too much. Like, people know watching, but they don't really play
No, I'm
into
just
it.
saying, could they have some sort
I guess
of
they could
gimmick
have that
storyline
1 year.
thing?
Yeah, that's the gimmick. Like somebody attacked the timekeeper or something. But
Well, I was also thinking, like, okay, it's been 2 minutes. The next guy's supposed to come out, and the rating
well,
they're sitting there.
there's been times when
that
somebody
guy's
should
not
have come
coming
out.
Yeah,
The buzzer went off, and the guy didn't come out for some reason.
yeah, and then
But it's
like
not
2
because
minutes
the time
later,
is
they're
gone.
moving on. What is
That's
going
either
on here?
Mosh or Thrasher, one half of the Headbangers, and I have no words for his outfit. He's wearing a skirt and a mesh top with a bra underneath and 2 big fuzzy cones over his nipples.
The sad reality is, I could
And
absolutely see.
and also he's got colorful leggings.
I was going to say
pastel, pink,
the
purple.
unfortunate reality is that I could totally see
And
some
these
Gen
these
Z
two guys are
TikToker.
that's Taka Michinoku in the ring. I'm not sure which wrestler just got thrown out, but it's one of the other members of the faction Kaientai. Neither
Recreating
one of which are an official
something.
entrant, at least at this point. They just ran in to interfere. I guess they were having a feud with the Headbangers or somebody else at this point. I don't remember one way or the other. Mm-hmm. Pile up in the corner there. Dylan, you okay over there? Mm-hmm. I mean, Max, I interrupted the Sims talk.
No, I was trying to say, the unfortunate reality is I could totally see some Gen Z TikToker person creating something comparable to that using those freaking fuzzy worms on a string, but like giant versions of them, you know? And I'm just sitting here like, oh gosh.
Also,
I
he's
hate
wearing
it
like,
again.
it looks like he's wearing like white briefs over his trunks underneath his skirt.
Something's going on.
Because you can see he's got black underneath that, and those don't even
Yeah.
look like wrestling trunks. They literally look like a pair of underwear.
Choices were made that day.
I think the Headbangers debuted in the WWF on the ill-fated Shotgun Saturday Night Show as the Flying Nuns. Or the Sisters of Love, I think that's what it was. And they were dressed up in like nun outfits or something with Brother Love, a.k.a. Bruce Pritchard, as their manager.
Okay.
Yeah, 97 was not the best year for wrestling, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, here comes Christian, who we've spoken about multiple times. Major player in AEW right now, along with his storyline brother Edge. Can we just address this now, too, that Edge, of course, he can't use the Edge name because it's trademarked by WWE. His real name is Adam Copeland.
Okay.
And apparently WWE doesn't have the trademark on his nickname, the Rated R Superstar, because he's been referred to as that. But now that he's come back from his leg injury, he's the Rated R Superstar Cope. It's like, we need a 4-letter word like Edge. What can we come up with? How about Cope?
Damn, should have been the Red All Superstar Goon.
I mean, I thought Adam...
Edge into Goon.
What's wrong with the Adam... That's good. But what's wrong with the Radar Superstar Adam Copeland? It's perfectly fine. But Cope? I don't know about that, man.
It's so funny.
There's no hope with Cope. Still nobody eliminated yet. We got 4 wrestlers in the ring. One of the great things about the Royal Rumble is the ebbs and flows. You'll have times when the ring gets kind of crowded. You'll have times when it empties out. If I'm referencing anything, I'm referencing the old, 3-minute cartoon that used to come on the Disney Channel, Ebb and Flow.
Ebb and Flow is one of my favorite Platoon songs.
The fun fact is, I recognize what both of y'all are talking about. Neither means anything to me.
Ebb and Flow doesn't mean anything to you? I used to watch that with you when you were getting ready for school in the morning.
I can recognize it, and I think I've seen some pictures of it recently
in 62
online.
Zoo Lane?
Oh, 64.
64 Zoo Lane?
Yeah, I remember that one. But yeah, no, Ebb and Flow, I've seen pictures. I'm like,
It's okay.
yeah,
I
that's familiar.
42 Zoo Lane, so...
You were gonna get one of the numbers correct.
Speaking of Rikishi.
But yeah, Ebb and Flow, I don't call quite
real
as
name,
well.
Sololafa Fatu, something like that.
Okay.
It's Jay and Jimmy and Solo's dad, to tie it into modern wrestling.
Yes.
And I think this is maybe right before he started doing the dancing gimmick with Too Cool. He was just kind of a badass killer right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's around this time. I remember distinctly at Backlash and whatever pay-per-view he fought, Judgment Day in May. Him and Too Cool doing the dancing gimmick.
Interesting.
And King of the Ring that year too. I could tell a story about King of the Ring, but I'm not going to because y'all would probably get uncomfortable.
It's okay. I'm okay with leaving it at that.
It's the first time I went all the way with your mother. was the night of the King of the Ring.
I said I was okay with leaving it at that.
I don't want to leave the listeners hanging. I get annoyed when people reference stuff.
You shut up.
Well, it's there. It's there now if people want it.
You should have
saying.
It could have just like chilled on the Patreon or something.
You know, it's there now.
It could have been on the Patreon for them.
Okay. No, there's based on the stare down between the two. I think they're probably already doing the team up gimmick, unless maybe this is the point where Too Cool's trying to get Rikishi to be their friend. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I just don't remember the timeline of the Too Cool Rikishi partnership that well to know where we are in it at this point.
Yes.
But obviously, we're at least the beginnings of it, based on this interaction. And here comes the third man in the trio, Scott Taylor, a.k.a. Scotty Too Hottie.
Oh, God.
The innovator of the worm. Not the innovator of the dance move in general, but the one who brought it into wrestling. And look, they're going to get Rikishi. I bet what's going to happen is they're going to get Rikishi to dance with him, and he's going to eliminate both of them.
I don't like Rikishi's face.
But again, I'm not sure if they're officially a trio at this point, or if they're still trying to get him to be their friend.
Uh-huh.
But here's their little dance routine, so everybody gets to see it.
You seeing this, Dylan? So, we've got a few GIFs of this available somewhere, right? Or GIFs, however you want to pronounce it.
Oh, Scotty's going to go into the worm, which he would actually incorporate in wrestling. He would do the worm and then drop an elbow or a fist drop on somebody.
This would have been such a meme.
Oh, this was big time back then. This was one of the fun, silly bits. This is one of the fun bits. You'd have the hardcore, serious stuff, and then you'd have a segment that had some silliness to it. And this was the good silliness. This was the not Mae Young giving birth to her hand silliness. This was the good silliness. Yeah, I told you he was going to eliminate him. I think Rikishi is kind of getting the Diesel treatment here, where he's not going to win, but he's going to be dominant and eliminate a lot of guys throughout the match, kind of establish him as a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, he's giving him a little dap there. So I think clearly the trio was already united at this point.
You want to know something fun?
What?
Starter Battle is only $5 on the App Store.
Okay. Maybe that's how we should get it for Johnny, so we can do our 5-way star do.
Probably.
But yeah, if y'all didn't hear me, if anybody else didn't hear me, that's Rikishi, a.k.a. I'm not going to pronounce his first name again, but last name Fatu, part of the Samoan dynasty and the father of Jimmy and Jey Uso and Solo.
Yes.
Fun fact, Vampire Survivors is free on the App Store.
Rikishi was, this was his, big solo run. I don't know why they're zooming in on his ass there. Oh, he was also the innovator of the stink face, where he would back up to a wrestler in the corner and rub his ass cheeks all over their face.
Hate that.
And this is Steve Blackman, supposedly a legitimate tough guy, a legitimate badass. Never got super over in wrestling, but he had a nice little run here in the WWF. Oh, but anyway, Rikishi goes back, to the 80s at least. He was a member of the Samoan SWAT team, and he was part of the head shrinkers in the WWF in the early 90s. So this was kind of like his big solo run, but he had actually been around for a long time by this point under different names.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's playing The Sims.
No, I'm not.
Someone's playing The Sims.
I literally wasn't. It wasn't even loading. Can you at least lock it so it doesn't die, please?
Blackman out. I don't know how to do it.
Look, it won't even load.
That's a skill issue.
Look, this is the main event. This is the last match on the show. You can settle in. And Rikishi's back by him. This is what I'm talking about the Royal Rumble. I love the way you'll have patches where you have 4 or 5 guys fighting. Then it'll get to the point where you just have one guy and he's kind of, defending his turf. He's the king of the mountain. And then, you get to a bigger group and then it starts to roll down. Then you have the final 4. And then I love the ebbs and flows of the Royal Rumble. It's why it's lasted so long. Like a traditional Battle Royal can be okay, but they're all kind of the same.
Yeah.
But the Royal Rumble is unique. And it's, some are better than others, but the booking ebbs and flows of it really make it stand out. It's like a series of matches in one. I think Bruce Pritchard's described as a series of legal run-ins. Oh, big man battle is the late, I think his name was Nelson Frazier. I don't want to say the wrong name, but Viscera was his ring name at this point. Also wrestled under the name Mabel at one point as a member of Men on a Mission, former King of the Ring.
That's the name I recognized him under.
Viscera?
No,
Mabel.
Mabel, yeah.
Yeah, from the mid-90s.
He's not in contact at the moment.
He is. He was part of Undertaker's, Satanic Ministry of Darkness group. That's where the look comes from.
Interesting.
Big man could move around fairly well. Not the greatest worker.
Yeah.
But, you know, it wasn't bad for a big guy. His match with Diesel at SummerSlam 95 was probably pretty ugly, but it's not his fault. He shouldn't have been in that position. I mean, Rikishi's a big dude. He's not super tall. He's probably, 6'2", maybe. I don't really know
Not
how
super
tall
tall,
Rikishi
and
is.
6 foot something.
That's tall for an average person. I mean, the average man is like 5'11", so I think Rikishi's probably
That's fine.
over that. But Viscera's, probably 6'7", and he's not just tall, he's big.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you'll have a wrestler who's big but not that tall, or who's very tall but not very beefy.
Mm-hmm.
And these are two of the exceptions. Although, like, the Rikishi's probably closer to average in height, but looking at him and Viscera, he looks small, but when you see him with other wrestlers, he's a pretty big dude. Viscera never even took his coat off.
Yeah. Just casually wrestling in it and going out in it.
Yeah, a lot of times, somebody as big as Viscera, you'd have the spot where it takes a bunch of wrestlers to team up on him. But like I say, they're giving Rikishi the superstar treatment here, the Diesel spot, where he's going to eliminate a lot of guys on his own. And it'll probably take several wrestlers to eliminate him when it's finally time for him to go out.
That would make sense.
Mabel doesn't look happy about it, but he's got to go. Oh, Big Boss Man. If I didn't say so,
That's a name.
Viscera has since passed away.
Yes.
So has Mr. Ray Traylor, a.k.a. the Big Boss Man. He started out as Big Bubba Rogers. He was Jim Cornette in the Midnight Express's bodyguard.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to the WWF, and he was the evil cop, the Big Boss Man. And then he became the babyface cop, the Big Boss Man. Then he had a run in WCW where he started out as the boss, then he became the Guardian Angel, and then he came back to the WWF as the Big Boss Man in the late 90s. Instead of like the traditional blue-on-blue cop outfit, he's got this more SWAT team, black-on-black look.
Yeah.
But Ray was a good hand. He was one of the best big man workers of all time.
Can you press the power button, please?
Still refusing to get in the ring.
Friend.
You had my iPad stolen.
I did indeed. Friend.
No, you asked me to press it. I'll find it eventually. There we go.
I was gonna say there's only it's a long one of four sides.
No friend.
You don't get your friend's iPad stolen. And you also don't rob them of their jewelry.
Big Boss Man with the middle finger for Rikishi. I'm kind of surprised they didn't blur that out, honestly.
Big Boss. Metal Gear Solid.
The Big Boss Man, yeah, that was
Hey,
his
Roman's
name.
chest
You
is
know
more
what? It fits
offensive.
in perfectly fine as a wrestling name. That doesn't stand out as anything particularly silly
Metal
to me.
Gear Solid. Big Boss. Technically, Big Boss was in the original Metal Gear, not.
My parents
Metal
used to
Gear
think that my Uncle Bruce looked a lot like the Big Boss Man.
And
So much so that in our fantasy wrestling game, my mom had a wrestler called the Big Bruce Man.
Nice.
Fun facts.
Another deceased wrestler, Andrew Martin, aka Test. This is starting to get sad. You've literally met him. I mean, he's dead now too.
How old was I when I met him?
2016.
Oh yeah.
You were 2016 when you met him.
Wow, you're old.
15. Yeah, I maybe. Actually, I do vaguely remember that.
Anyway, can we just point out that I'm starting to get sad knowing all these dead wrestlers?
I'm sorry.
Fun fact. That's also a spoiler. The Big Boss in the original Metal Gear isn't Big Boss.
Like, you expect it to a degree, especially, I mean, this is 25 years ago, and some of these guys were in their 40s. Maybe some of them were even pushing 50.
I don't expect it to some degree only 25 years ago.
Okay, if you're watching something from 25 years ago, the odds are that some people passed away from it is not that great. And there's a good chance that they've
It just depends on what it is. With wrestling,
passed
it's like,
away.
yeah,
But
okay.
and I mean, to be fair, being the Royal Rumble show, there's going to be a lot of wrestlers on this show.
A lot of wrestlers. Some of these wrestlers have, of course, been around a while.
As
like
we
you
talked
were
about,
saying.
there is a preponderance
And it
of
is wrestling.
of death in wrestling more so than any other, maybe not any other, but in a lot of other walks of life, even other professional sports, especially wrestlers from the 80s and 90s. And we can talk about the different reasons: drug abuse, steroids, the rigors of the road. And here's another deceased wrestler, David Smith, a.k.a. Davey Boy Smith, a.k.a. the British Bulldog, another expat from WCW, brother-in-law to Bret Hart, who left in the wake of the Montreal Screwjob, got a back injury in WCW, was fired by WCW, came back to the WWF, and within a few years this would also have passed away.
Damn.
Yeah. Kind of. I didn't expect all the sadness. I should learn by now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Whenever you watch
think of,
wrestling,
I mean, I expect it, but like I say, being the Rumble, there's going to be so many. Like the whole roster is pretty much going to be on the show. So
earlier today, I was scrolling through. Hell. He just stole my phone from me. Was trying to point it at my face to unlock it.
I did actually get unlocked.
I had to do that. I had to do that one night when I had to sign into your YouTube account, and I needed your phone, and you were sleeping, so I just held it up to your face.
Reason not to use Face ID.
I mean, to be fair, we're not going to do anything malicious
Yeah.
with your phone.
I trust y'all. Y'all probably know
think I
the
know your
password.
password.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I was trying to say earlier today, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to watch a bit. And I was debating rewatching a show I've already seen that has a couple movies following it, but I sat there like, yeah, no, I can't sit through that show because not only in the most recent movie a certain character unfortunately passes away, but that actress is also passed away now.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting like,
Whoa.
I can't sit through watching that actress right this minute.
Who's coming out in Gangrel, David Heath.
So casually dressed.
Former husband of Luna Vachon, who we saw earlier, who also has passed away. Not David, Luna has passed away. I don't know if I
Wow.
mentioned that during the beginning. He was doing the vampire gimmick back then.
This
Vampire.
is not giving vampire vibes.
Wait, the Victorian shirt, spitting the blood. He's also got
That's
vampire.
not giving Victorian shirt vibes.
He's got vampire fangs.
Well, I couldn't see those.
Yeah, I know. He was
But
vampire.
that's just giving white button down.
Why didn't he come out in a full Dracula attire?
He was vampire warrior, I think, before he was in the WWE.
He's not even giving 80s vampire vibes.
That means AIDS vampires are regular AIDS person with fangs.
And he's not giving 2010s vampire
Like I
vibes
say,
either.
it would help if you saw
That's
more.
because of
characters.
2010
Just
vampire is
quick
some
entrance.
hot guy with fangs.
I was going to say, there's a couple options in
Speaking
that
of entrance,
department.
too, I just got this. I do not really like this setup of Madison Square Garden. I hate that short entrance way. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Like, I think the best set design for it. I do like the brick and graffiti, but that's only really applying when you're fighting in the aisleway. Like, you don't see it much from here. I think the best setup for it was SummerSlam '98, the year Taker and Austin headlined.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I like when they set up the longer. I like the longer entranceway from SummerSlam '91, and I like the big stage that they've used since then.
Mm-hmm.
Not a fan of this setup. It just, I don't want to say it looks cheap or small time. It just looks small physically, like it's just packed in. And I don't like the huge entranceways like they have in the arenas for WrestleMania, and sometimes when they go to like the baseball stadiums and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I like a bigger aisleway than that. Like, I used to love the ramp that WCW used. I know it kept the wrestlers away from the fans, so you couldn't high five them necessarily, but I liked it. It looked big time, and I liked some of the bumps you could take on it.
Yeah.
At least visually. I'm sure they might have hurt. Oh, it's Cope.
Hot Edge.
Babyface Edge. Not, he may have been a heel, but like young Edge. Like
Yeah,
I was saying
yeah.
with Angle earlier.
Real quick, I'd like to say my personal favorite 2010s vampire is vegetarian with pink and black pigtails and a gothic miniskirt. And like knee-high pink boots. So.
My babysitter's vampire.
Oh gosh, I remember that.
I got a rep for
Stop
Twilight
it.
Vampires.
So Pete.
Oh, 3 different 2010s vampires right
I'm,
there.
I'm sorry, the super intelligence, the speed, the strength. I could be a Twilight.
Boing!
That'd look
My
cool, man.
babysitter's vampire, they can go out in the sun as long as they wear sunglasses.
I know it's Pete.
Personally, mine was Dracula from Monster High. That is truly peak.
Yeah, the sparkly bit in Twilight's a little but I do like that idea they don't get burned by the sun, because that'd be kind of cliche too.
Yeah.
So at least they try to do something different with that. I can respect that. It's not necessarily the best idea, but it's not the worst either.
Yeah, Dracula has to pretty much avoid the sun for the most part, because she can use. I do think it's a fictional type, but she can use sunscreen and whatnot and sit under an umbrella while they're out at the beach.
I do like the idea of kind of subverting some of the cliches while playing into others.
I remember it is shown in the show and whatnot, but especially in the books, it talks about like she doesn't appear in mirrors, and she's sitting there trying to do her makeup and whatnot.
We just saw Taka get thrown over the top, but again, I don't think he's actually officially entered, so I don't think we've actually had an elimination for a while here. The ring's starting to fill up. We got 6 guys in it.
Interesting.
Okay, guys, which is cooler, vampires or werewolves?
I like vampires.
Yeah, I gotta go vampires.
I like werewolves.
Speaking
Dracula dated a well.
Speaking of
and his best friends with one.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Bob Backlund.
Whoa.
We said Daredevil. I was like, where'd you take the Claudine?
Bob Backlund, who had the second longest world title reign ever in the WWF. But I mean, he's got to be over 50 at this point.
Dear God.
Because his title reign would have ended in 83 when he lost it to the Sheik, who would then lose it to Hulk Hogan. And that was, what, at this point, 17 years? Be in his early 50s, or maybe late 40s at this point, but definitely past his prime. That's a bit of a surprise. He'd been doing kind of he did come back and wrestle for a while in like 94. And then kind of spun it off into a crazy manager gimmick. But that was the last time we saw him, and that would have been like a year prior to this. He did come back to do a little skit with Mick where he and the Iron Sheik were both trying to, and Mick's former real-life trainer, Dominic DeNucci, were trying to train Mick for his world title match. Not the one he with Triple H, the series he had with The Rock. Rikishi's been eliminated, and we all missed it.
Oh, no, I saw it, but we were talking.
Oh, well, what happened? Was it a big group of people, or...?
I didn't notice that much.
Don't say you saw it if you can't
I saw him going out, and I saw the commentary saying he'd gone out.
It might have been a deal where he was going for a move and somebody ducked. Was it something like that, maybe?
Possibly, because I don't recall seeing, like, a big group or anything. I saw him go out.
Anyway, Dylan, there's a new Metroidvania that features, like, an anthropomorphic wolf character.
Ooh, badass.
I'll show it to you after the podcast, but it looked like something you would like.
Yeah, but I like wolves more.
It's called something like Akiva.
Akiva.
I'm not what? Are you going to actually pay attention to that?
Yes, I'm paying attention. I want you to look something up, and then I said, "Oh shit," because I see that my phone's dying.
I feel like a teacher's having to take stuff away from their students because they're not paying attention.
You didn't take it away from him because she was using it. I was using it.
No.
Hey man, to be fair, that happens in classrooms. Here comes Trumpico.
I still have my phone.
Then he's in the Rumble after having a match.
Yeah, that's not uncommon.
He's not gonna win.
I mean, you got to fill up the match with 30 wrestlers. That's
True.
Even with a big roster, there's probably going to be some doubling up. And Backlund's gone.
Oof.
I mean, you see they're having trouble filling up the match because they had Bob Backlund in it. So they didn't have that deep of a roster at this point.
Yeah. So,
no offense to Bob, but I mean, he wasn't exactly a mainstream
happened
wrestler at this point.
that either they have not had that many wrestlers at a time.
They did 40 one year.
God damn. I was going to say, have there been years where that just either hasn't been that many wrestlers and therefore they didn't do that many, or there hasn't been that many active ones, so you see a fair few guys coming back that don't typically
The first Royal Rumble, which was actually a television special meant to compete with WCW's Bunkhouse Stampede pay-per-view, that was only a 20-man battle royal. Every other year it's been 30, except I do think one year they did 40. I may be mistaken on that, but I'm pretty sure. As far as filling up the Rumble, they've always had the number of wrestlers advertised, unless there was a case where maybe they did a gimmick where a wrestler just never showed up. Like they were supposed to come out and they didn't, and it was an angle they were working. But as far as wrestlers just on the current main roster, oftentimes that's augmented by other wrestlers, people coming back or people coming from another organization, or like occasionally they've had a gimmick like Drew Carey came into the Royal Rumble one year. So it hasn't always been 30 active current wrestlers in the promotion. But I mean, that's also become part of the gimmick over the years, is people coming back or people making one-shot appearances. It hasn't always been just because they couldn't fill up the ring with that many wrestlers. But that's just been part of the gimmick. But some years they might have done it because of that. Yes, oftentimes. Were they just spanking Crash?
Who knows?
Davey Boy and Edge had Crash like hanging over the top rope with his butt up in the air, and I think Edge was just spanking him.
It's pissing me off. I want the marble.
You don't get the marble.
The marble's trapped. I want the marble.
Mike Lockwood, a.k.a. Crash Holly, also deceased.
Damn.
4 of the wrestlers in the ring right now have since passed away. Out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, out of 7 wrestlers. So over half of the wrestlers in the ring right now have passed away. And Jericho might as well be dead. And Edge is calling himself Cope, so his career is dead. And Gangrel's a vampire, so he's like the living dead. So pretty much the whole ring is dead. In one way or another.
Vampire.
6,
There's men
5,
in a ring
4,
beating each other
3,
people.
2, 1. Who's coming out next? It's The Rock. Oh, it's China.
Oh, China.
Nice. Yeah, that is nice, actually.
I try to make China.
Looks at China there.
China the first.
That's not what I meant.
China the first, but not the last female to compete in the Royal Rumble. Of course, nowadays we have a men's and women's Rumble. But even in the era of the men's and women's Rumble, we've seen women participate in the men's Rumble. I know Leah Maivia. Not Leah. What's her name? Leah's Rock's mom. Who's his cousin?
Naya.
Yeah, Nia Jax. She competed in the men's Rumble one year. I know Edge's wife, Beth Phoenix, she was in the men's Rumble back when it was just a single Rumble. And I think there's probably been a couple other women competing in the men's Rumble.
Yeah, but that is what I was saying.
China
Nice
China was the first, but it wasn't this year. She just eliminated Jericho, a little bit of payback after he won, and Big Boss Man eliminated China.
Oh.
Wow.
But
Gotta be careful saying that.
But saying China does not look nice?
No, I'm not insulting China.
I think the '99 Rumble was when China was the first woman to make an appearance in the Rumble, and we watched that on the pay-per-view a couple years ago. I remember.
I just thought it was nice to see a female wrestler in the ring with the men.
Well, she's gone now.
Well, yeah, now she is, but she wasn't.
I think she stuck around a little bit longer in '99.
Nice.
This is more just continuing her little storyline with Jericho. Before, like I say, after too long, she's going to get spun off into a storyline with Eddie Guerrero, which was kind of silly, but it was a lot of fun too. I enjoy the China. I enjoy the China Guerrero relationship much more than the China Jericho relationship.
I've seen a lot of people make comparisons between Dom and Eddie, and
Dom's doing a lot of Eddie on purpose too. Here comes Big Ron, aka Farouk.
Nice.
And here comes the Mean Street Posse.
Just random people jumping in
It's
the
wrestling.
Shane McMahon's buddies, two of which were legitimately Shane's buddies. Okay, Mean Street Posse, the guys who just interfered.
Yes.
Two of which were legitimately Shane McMahon's friends who just came in to be part of an angle leading up to Shane's first match at WrestleMania 99 and then actually became wrestlers. The third of which was an actual trained wrestler who they brought into the group to supplement them and actually kind of be the worker of the group.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like a lot more people
I don't know
into the ring randomly.
How much interference there is in the Rumble, but interference is common as hell.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't feel like it's very common in the Rumble.
I'm sure there's probably at least one run-in every other year, maybe.
There's a lot of one-ins.
Yeah, but this is the era for that too. This is late Attitude Era. This is the era of outside interference and brawls outside the ring, and so it fits the tone of what wrestling was. Like I say, they're transitioning into a little bit more wrestling-oriented product, but
Dylan, earlier we were discussing vampires, and you briefly thought Dracula and Cleo dating. That reminded me of the current iteration of Monster High, where they've actually changed it, where not Cleo. I didn't even mean Cleo to begin with. We were thinking Claudine.
Claudine.
Road Dogg in the ring now.
But they've changed it now where Claudine's like crushing on Deuce or whatever, and Cleo and Frankie were hinted at possibly ending up together. I've found out, though, because TikTok loves to show me Monster High content, that, or at least supposedly, they never end up together, and the show ended after season 2. And
Tragedy.
And as far as the movies go, I don't know whether or not they were ever a thing in the movies, but also, supposedly, there was possibly going to be a third one, and there might still be, but it might also be getting canceled, so.
Tragedy.
Mattel might be moving away from the situation.
Can we just say you guys were poo-pooing Boss Man, but he's been staying in for a while.
I didn't say anything.
He's been hanging in there.
I say it has a good name.
I mean, when I started watching wrestling, he was already an established character, but that doesn't sound like a weird wrestling name to me. The Big Boss Man.
Yeah, I mean,
Big. He's the big boss, man.
it's not the weirdest name for
he's
wrestling.
the Big Boss Man.
It's not like a name, but it's not that weird. Not as a wrestling name.
I mean,
Somebody
is it any
just went
weirder than
Coco
Triple
Loco,
fucking
thought.
H?
Who's the guy in the trunks right there laying down?
That's Crash Holly.
It looked... I guess he didn't actually
The
hit
late Mike Lockwood
floor.
was getting spanked by Cope earlier.
Looked like he almost went out.
Yeah, but you can't go out under the rope. You have to go over the top rope.
Yeah, he went over the top, but he didn't go to the floor.
You have to go over the top rope and hit the floor before you go back into the ring.
Yeah, he didn't
Both
actually
feet
hit
have
the
to hit the floor, too.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Al Snow.
Damn.
I apologize for the
Al
voice
Snow
that
came to
made.
prominence in ECW in around 97 because he would carry a mannequin head to the ring and he'd talk to it and kind of act like he was crazy and was hearing voices from the mannequin head, but of course it was really just an excuse for the crowd to chant, head, 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 head.
Why?
Late 90s.
90s were weird.
I mean, what's wrong with a little head? I think everybody can agree on. I think everybody can agree on that. I think that's something everybody can agree on.
Every decade has probably been weird, but still.
How many people we got right now? 2,
1,
3,
2,
4,
3,
5. They changed the
7.
camera angle, so now I'm off. I want to say 6. It's 6.
Is it?
It's Gangrel, Big Boss Man, Crash Holly, Edge, and 2 other people who I forget.
Okay.
Al Snow is in there. And then
Yeah, I guess it's 6.
I just dropped Bruce.
We got 3 different pairings of 2 now, it looks like.
And
No.
Test is in
1,
there.
2, 3, 4, 5,
Oh
6,
yeah,
7.
Road Dogg's in there too. Okay, I
Okay,
overlooked
what's
somebody
7?
earlier. I'm sorry. Not the best crossbody block there by Edge.
I'm sorry.
6, 5,
4, 3, 2, 1. You weren't actually
commentary
timing
said
any
it
of
was-
this, were you?
Huh?
Said you weren't actually timing any of
I
this, were
wasn't.
you?
I could start after that.
Yeah.
I could start with the next one if y'all would like me to.
Yeah, we should. We should
Sure.
see how accurate this.
I didn't
want
to get too distracted because I wasn't trusting y'all to carry the commentary. That's
That's
another
should
shithead in
never
real
trust
life,
me.
Sean Morley.
Somebody
playing.
else is running out here.
That's Sean Morley as Val Venus, the former porn star in Storyline, and just real life shithead.
Okay.
I'll just refer you to his Twitter if you want to hear some of the bullshit he's spouted off about. I don't personally care to quote any of it.
That's probably reasonable.
Personally, I wouldn't even bother with it if I were you. But if you're curious, you can check it out. I enjoyed his work as Val Venus. The hello, ladies, and I mean the porn star gimmick clearly wasn't going to be WWF champion, but I thought he was good as a mid card act, and he was a solid enough worker and a good interview. He was part of the famous angle where, okay, the guy you just saw flip out of the ring there, Taka Michinoku, and the other Asian man with the blue outfit who's interfered a couple of times, they were part of the sect Kaientai.
Uh-huh.
And the gimmick was that Val had slept with Taka's sister or maybe their manager's sister or daughter or something like that. And they kidnapped him and they were going to cut his dick off with a samurai sword, a.k.a. choppy his pee-pee. And they actually showed it, and then it went dark, and then Val explained that fortunately it was cold in there, so he was suffering from shrinkage, so the sword missed his dick.
What the actual hell is wrestling?
That's just 90s era WWE. That's not wrestling. No.
What year
maybe.
was that?
98.
Good gosh.
What the hell is wrestling?
Oh, here comes, what's his real name? Matt Bourne. No, Matt Bourne was Doink. What is his? I think it's Matthew something. I think he and I share a first name.
Okay.
Don't quote me, but his wrestling name at this point is Prince Albert.
Okay.
Which of course is a penis piercing. But that was it. He had a lot of piercings. And so that was the name he came in with, was Prince Albert.
Oh,
I'm just saying this is information I was aware of, but it's not the information I immediately think of when I hear Prince Albert.
Look it up. It's a piercing through the head of your penis.
I'm aware of that.
Well, then why did you say you don't think of it when you hear Prince Albert?
Because there's actually a prince, too!
Yeah, but... Matt Bloom, that's his name. I knew he and I shared a first name. I'm not saying I'm proud of that. I'm not saying I'm not either. No disrespect, man. I think he's worked a lot as a trainer now, or in years since he was finished wrestling.
Pokemon trainer?
Yeah, see, I
Pro
did
wrestling
want to
trainer.
double check that I wasn't mixing up history, but yeah, that was the husband of Queen Victoria.
Okay, well, he's been immortalized as a penis piercing since then.
I was pretty sure that was one of the lessons on kinky history, but that is just not where my mind immediately goes.
Well, that's what they were trying to elicit. Oh, wait, I gotta start timing. Hold on. Oh, can I get the stopwatch up?
2, 1.
Go, start timing.
I did.
Okay.
Oh, Bob Holly. Storyline cousin of Crash Holly. The guy Mike Lockwood that we've talked about who was getting spanked by Edge earlier. In Storyline, they're cousins. In real life, I don't even know if they were friends.
Just co-workers.
Also, Molly Holly, who also wrestled as Miss Madness in WCW originally. She was their storyline cousin as well.
Interesting.
She may have appeared in a men's rumble. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just thinking about her coming back for one of the women's rumbles. I liked her when she was the superhero with. She was Mighty Molly along with Sean Helm's portrayal of the Hurricane, the superhero character.
Yeah.
I thought they were a fun duo. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wrestlers in the ring right now. Probably the most we've had at one point this year.
Yeah.
So how about all that action at the Royal Rumble this year? That was great. Well, that women's rumble was crazy, wasn't it? Can you believe the way it finished?
Watch none of it turn out to be that exciting.
Of course, if you missed what I said earlier, we're recording the show before the 2025 Rumble has occurred, even though it's actually going to post afterwards. So,
yeah.
We have no idea what happened. By the time this goes up, we'll know what happened, but
as of recording,
we're not recording an addendum or anything to it.
Exactly.
We'll do a special review of the Royal Rumble on our YouTube channel. Probably not, but maybe. But don't count on it, I'm just saying. If it appears, great. If it doesn't... Oh, fans are going crazy.
What if something major happens? Then would you add something onto this episode?
I would not add on to this episode because I just wouldn't have time.
Mm-hmm.
But we could, like I say, sit down and do a special review just for YouTube or something.
Are we paying attention to the timer stuff?
Oh, shoot. It was under 2 minutes. It was about one... I'll have to restart after the next guy, but yeah, it was about 1:50 when Rock came in.
Okay.
No, I wasn't. I was trying to do a podcast. So. Maybe we should have put Dylan in charge of the timer.
Maybe.
Dylan's not really doing anything else.
Sitting over... Are you reading through WWE Reddit?
No.
The Rock has entered the match and immediately eliminated Big Boss.
Can you wrestle in Undertale?
Distracted.
Okay, Dad, make some matches for Undertale. Make some matches, Gabby can tell us who would win and why. Assuming that it's not
every
scripted.
Time. The
Human not allowed. Monsters only.
Well, to be fair, it's not necessarily a fight to the death.
Probably.
It's an athletic competition waged within set rules, so...
True.
Undying Asgore are like the strongest ones.
It's not always a matter of strength.
Toyo could, but
Technique
he's a
matters
monster.
too. And endurance.
I want to see that one kid win.
Which monster?
Monster kid, yeah.
He has no arms.
No arms.
I don't
He
care.
would
no
definitely
arms.
Now, to be fair, there have been...
Sorry.
There have been wrestlers with only one leg. At least 2.
Well,
All right, here we go.
That's
Timer's
the
coming up.
underdog
3,
that I want to see
2, 1. Alright, starting the timer.
win.
Who's coming in? Oh, Billy Gunn.
Little Vulcan.
Yeah.
Who also has no arms.
My favorite Undertale was no arms.
Billy Gunn, also a prominent member
Obviously,
of the
he's
current
playing in
AEW
every
roster,
match.
and both of his sons are wrestlers for AEW. Billy Gunn, the only member of the 4-man DX who's not still associated with WWE.
Interesting.
Because Triple H runs WWE, Shawn runs NXT, and I know Road Dogg is part of the creative team in the WWE.
Interesting.
And Sean Waltman just shows up in the crowd at other big shows.
I'd imagine Papyrus is not winning a whole lot of matches, honestly.
Yeah, my bone attack will pin you in 1,
Big character, big talk, not a lot of winning.
I mean, the thing
Crash
is,
Holly eliminated.
Papyrus is actually canonically pretty tough.
He's actually really freaking tough.
Yeah, he's just
too
very
big-hearted.
soft boy. Yeah. He's pretty strong, so it doesn't really...
This is like my least favorite Royal Rumble
to.
spot when the guy's like up in the
Would
corner.
Sands win a lot of matches?
He's really strong, but way too lazy to
I think I've
actually
officially
fight.
lost control.
I'm sorry, Matt.
Sans would not win a match. He literally only does stuff
He's just there to further the story.
I mean, I could see him in a Royal Rumble style match. He just moves when somebody tries to hit him and they get eliminated. So he'd probably last a while in the Rumble.
Yeah, he's like sitting in the corner the whole time, like no one even knows him. It's like, wait, how long has Sans been here? He said leaves the ring.
Okay, we have
the bomb.
We have 2 different WWE games and an AEW
What just
game.
happened?
So I think Crash Holly just left.
Okay. And somebody else is coming
Sans
out.
literally just
Okay,
not
Big
even.
Show's coming out now. It's about
nice.
140. I'm not sure exactly when the timer went off because I was talking to y'all, but we were in the 140 range. So I'm guessing maybe 2 minutes was the gimmick and they just went under on these.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was a minute and a half and they're going over.
Remember the TV show?
Which one?
Big Show's
Oh yeah, the
show.
Disney Channel show.
Yeah.
It was cute.
I just that just occasionally pops in my mind every now and then.
Big Show's a pretty entertaining guy. Big too, like legitimately big. I haven't met him, but I've seen him in person.
Yeah.
And just from whatever my vantage point was to him, he looks massive.
Yeah.
Like I know that's what people would say about Andre. Like Andre the Giant wasn't even 7 feet tall. Maybe he came close to 7 feet tall in his prime, but he was really more like 6'10". But he was just such a physical presence, and even in the pictures, you can see, like you can tell he's not that much taller than the next person, but he's just so massive. And Big Show's not quite as big as Andre as far as proportionally, but he is just a huge specimen, and he looks it too when you see him in real life. I think Big Show might actually be legitimately taller than Andre. I think he might have him by an inch or two.
Damn.
Not sure, not having known either one of them personally, but they're both very tall, very big men.
I think Undyne is probably the strongest non-boss monster in Naruto.
Again, it's like we just exist in two different worlds.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Of course, Toya and Asgard are the strongest.
That show was
monsters,
unfortunately canceled
singularly.
because it just wasn't popular enough. And with COVID, they couldn't do a live studio audience.
Toya
Here
and
come the Mean Street Posse again since Bradshaw, the other half of the Acolytes, came in.
Toya and Asgard are both incredibly strong, but they go easy on you in the game.
Well, so what I was saying is we have 3 different modern wrestling games. I think we can make an Undertale Battle Royal happen.
Yes.
And I think we should.
Yes.
One of my friends,
Check that out at youtube.com/@VidiocyTV. Or right here if you're listening to this on YouTube.
yeah,
Unless you're listening to the clip of it on LexiCon on YouTube, then youtube.com/@VidiocyTV.
one of my friends, they're out running errands recently, and they stopped by GameStop to pre-order the next Wrestling 2K game. We have one
That's
of
my
those
favorite
games.
game series, Wrestling 2K.
Wrestling
I
2K.
think people know what I was referring to.
we have 2 of those games.
Wrestling 2K,
all I know is
basketball
I
2K.
bought one of them, and I touched it once.
You touched it once.
Something like that.
Didn't play it, just touched it.
Just put it in the system. That's as far as I got.
It was actually stuck inside of our PlayStation 4 for a while.
What happened?
Well, we just disconnected the PlayStation 4 because we got a PlayStation 5 and we forgot to take the disc out.
Always take the disc out before disconnecting your game
Eventually
consoles.
we plugged it back up and got it back out after we realized it was in there. But
Whoopsie daisy.
10.
How many
Okay, I'm
people
going to
are
do the
there?
timer again.
What?
How many more people are there?
I
We're
honestly don't know.
we're getting toward the end because I don't think Big Show would have been in too long. All right, starting the timer again.
Ooh, it went dark.
Kane or Taker, maybe. Yeah, it's Kane.
Meh.
Another fucking Trump supporter. Another asshole who
Taker
wants to
was cooler.
who wants to say that his supporters' right to own guns is more important than the lives of school children. So again, fuck that piece of shit. But I didn't know any of that back then, so I was a fan. Unfortunately, when you learn about the real people behind the gimmick, sometimes it's not so flattering.
I recently heard that there was some sort of law or something that prohibited the sale, in certain scenarios at least, the sale of guns to people between 18 and 21, and that's being undone or whatever. It has been ruled no longer constitutional.
Kane, the wrestling character, he's had that sort of Rikishi Diesel moment before where he was the dominant force and he didn't win the Rumble, but he'd eliminate a lot of guys
Yeah.
in the middle and, take a lot to get him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should be getting near that. Like I say,
I was say, has anybody been counting how many people there are?
I mean, spoilers. I know who wins it, and I know who the last 2 are, and they're in the ring already. So, and they're not guys I would think would spend 40 minutes in the ring. So, I did start the timer again, but for all I know, Kane was entrant 30.
Okay. No, because we've got another
Okay,
countdown
there we
going.
go. Oh yeah, we're gonna be about a minute 30 on this one.
Oh, wow.
So maybe that was the gimmick. Maybe it was 90 seconds because we were at 131 by my count for that one.
Alright.
Oh, The Godfather.
Brightly colored.
Pimpin' ain't easy. One of the best fun Attitude Era characters. I mean, in real life, I think pimps are shit, but this is just the fun, cartoony kind of pimp.
Uh-huh.
Some of the ladies from the local gentleman's establishment, probably. Anyway, it's New York City. There's probably several of them nearby.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, he didn't have like a regular troop of valets that came in. They just, whatever city they were in, whoever was available. And now Kayentai's back again. At least one of the members. Oh, it's Funaki. Okay, I didn't know if it was Funaki or Dick to go. And again, being eliminated when he's not even in the match.
Haven't they been out here like 4 times now?
Yeah, something like that.
This is the same person winning out.
Same 2 people. Yeah. It was him and Taka. Yeah, within the next year, the Godfather would turn heel and join the Right to Censor, which was a parody of the Parents Television Council, who were coming down on the WWF for their content. Mm-hmm. And he'd, just have the black and white suit and be real stoic and not be the fun-loving character anymore. I think that was one of the big mistakes.
Got another countdown going.
I don't have a problem with him doing that gimmick in general. Mm-hmm. But they shouldn't have turned Godfather. He was fun like he was. He didn't need to be anything other than he was.
It would have been a drastic and disappointing
That one's right at 132, so either they're really cutting it here at the end, or it probably was 90 seconds and some of them just went over. Mm-hmm. They said he got the lucky draw, so this might have been 30.
Alright.
And that's X-Pac, the other member of DX. We saw him earlier interfering in the match. The real-life Sean Waltman, who I first saw as the Lightning Kid when he was wrestling for GWF back in like 91, 92. Had a really good series of matches with Jerry Lynn over the light heavyweight title. And would eventually show up in the WWF with multiple different monikers. He might have been the Lightning Kid one week, just the Kid one week, and then he got the upset victory over the late Scott Hall, a.k.a. Razor Ramon, and that's when he became the 1-2-3 Kid. And he was part of the behind-the-scenes clique with Shawn Michaels and Hall and Kevin Nash and Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And then he would go to WCW as part of the NWO and become 6. Because he was supposed to be the 6th member, and I guess technically, or maybe he was supposed to be an earlier member, and by the time he cleared his contract and everything, he became the 6th member. But he became 6, and then he got fired by Eric Bischoff, and then he came back to the WWF and joined the reconstituted DX after WrestleMania 98, after Shawn left with the back injury, and he became, his nickname was 6-Pac, like a playoff on Tupac.
Yeah.
In WCW, and then he became X-Pac when he joined DX, which
Makes
is probably
sense.
the name he's most known under.
Probably.
Again, the real-life Sean Waltman.
Have you just seen a couple people go out?
Yeah, several people. Rock just eliminated Al Snow. Godfather looks like he's been eliminated. He didn't even take his vest off.
No.
Oh, oof. And Billy Gunn just eliminated his tag team partner.
Oof. Welcome to the Rumble.
So this is the final 5, I guess, of this. But the final 4 is always kind of a big deal in the Rumble. Maybe every year we don't get a final 4, but
Kane took that guy out.
This year we got a final 4 where you got The Rock, Kane, Big Show, and X-Pac, with The Rock, Kane, and Big Show being the most likely winners, and X-Pac kind of being the underdog amongst the group. Because again, at this point, as it is now, the winner of the Rumble would get the title shot at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. Kane is currently not in the ring, but he did not go out.
Right. Billy Gunn pulled him out under the bottom rope.
Yeah.
So when you get down to the final 4, a lot of times a couple guys will be legitimate contenders, and 1 or 2 will be like, well, they're not going to win, so... That's like the fun gimmick of the Rumble is like, oh, anybody can win, but you really know there's only a few people who are going to have a chance to win.
This is really entertaining to see so many people and doing this and that.
No, the Rumble match, even a bad Rumble's fun.
Yeah.
Some are definitely better than others, but there's always something entertaining about a Rumble. That's why it's probably the most popular pay-per-view, aside from WrestleMania every year.
Really? Is SummerSlam behind it?
I'd put SummerSlam behind it. I know WWF presents SummerSlam as like the WrestleMania of the summer, but I think
Survivor Series be after SummerSlam?
Yeah, I think Survivor Series would easily be the lowest of the big 4. Even though I enjoy Survivor Series, whether they're doing the brand versus brand gimmick or the elimination matches, or even now with War Games. I've always enjoyed Survivor Series, but I've always enjoyed the others too, as long as they had a good card. But I think for fan interest, I think Rumble would be second, because it's sort of, it sets the tone for WrestleMania. It starts WrestleMania season, and it's just the excitement of the Rumble match. And like I say, even though there's only a handful of wrestlers who have a chance to win it, there's always going to be something entertaining about it. I do think this is the one pay-per-view, even more so than WrestleMania or SummerSlam, that would benefit from being split into 2 days. Yeah. Because once you've watched one of the Rumble matches, it's exhausting to try to watch the other one.
Kane is out.
Yep, eliminated by X-Pac, who was his tag team partner at one point. They had us kind of big guy, little guy tag team.
Interesting.
And at this point, it was like it's clear it's going to be Big Show or Rock.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, honestly, I think it was pretty clear it was going to be from the beginning. But just based on who was being pushed at the time and what storyline they were building to. Oh, military press, and X-Pac is out. And it's down to Rock and Big Show.
Rock looks so small next to him.
I told you, Big Show's a big guy.
I was gonna say, and
Rock
I don't think he's that small.
No, he's at
big
least
too.
like wrestling heights and weights are exaggerated, but Rock's at least 6'2".
Yeah.
And he's he's way over 2 bills.
It's time for the greatest wrestling move of all time.
The People's Elbow, one of the most ridiculous moves of all time. But it's over. I'm not going to deny that. But it's silly. But yeah, I do think they should split the Rumble into 2 days now, because then you could alternate who main events day 1 and who main events day 2, and you could build up the rest of the show with really good. It'd give you a chance to put some more matches on the undercard, and it would stretch out the Rumble so it wouldn't be so exhausting, because you start the show with one. By the time that's over, you've seen one match, and you feel like, okay, I've seen the show. Like, I'm still going to watch the rest of the show, but man, it can be exhausting. I've used that word multiple times. I apologize that my lexicon has betrayed me on the LexiCon.
Huh.
Okay, I'm seeing that a lot of things say The Rock is 6'5". A lot of people think he's actually 6'2".
6'5" is his advertised height. Mm-hmm. That's why I say wrestling heights are exaggerated, and I don't know him personally. But
people have also said, some people say that they
they're
think
both going over. Who's hit? Who hit? I know who hit. I'm just saying that.
The guy from Fortnite.
Say that he appears most 6'2".
Huh?
Peely?
You said the guy from Fortnite. So that he appears most 6'2" because standing next to Cena, he doesn't look that different in Cena.
And unlike Bad Loser Mick Foley, Big Show just walks out. He doesn't go back and attack The Rock or anything. Actually,
the guy from Fortnite won.
At some point,
everybody's in Fortnite.
I don't know. I don't remember what the deal is. Either they're going to say that Rock and Big Show might have touched simultaneously, or maybe Big Show beat him in a match on the pay-per-view after this. They actually wrestle for the WWE title shot. So there's some controversy coming out of this. Like I said, I don't know if Big Show beats him in another match to win it, and then Rock has to win it back.
Yeah.
And actually, it does. It ends up being a 4-way at WrestleMania, so Rock doesn't even get the one-on-one match. It ends up being Big Show, Mick Foley, Triple H, and The Rock for the title. And Triple H becomes the first heel to ever win or retain the WWF Championship at WrestleMania on WrestleMania 2000. And then Rock would win it from him in the following pay-per-view, Backlash 2000, which is one of my all-time favorite pay-per-views, which I don't have any plans to watch on the show, but now that I'm saying it, we might check it out. Because I do really like, I don't know if it'd be that great of a podcast episode, but it's a really good show. I would recommend checking it out, especially if you like just good, solid wrestling from this era. Lots of good matches, Dean Malenko and Scotty 2 Hotty, Eddie Guerrero and S.A. Rios. Kurt Angle and the Big Show have kind of a comedy match where Big Show comes out and imitates Hulk Hogan. But lots of good wrestling on that show. This was a good era for in-ring wrestling, especially for what you were going to get from the WWE.
Makes sense.
And now Rock's going to do a little bit of crowd work with the mic. I know they have not shown a shot of them going over, so I'm wondering if Rock accidentally did hit the floor at the same time as Big Show.
Maybe
that's what led into the matches.
I say, because the clips that they
well, anytime they're going to do something like that, they're going to shoot from the other side first and then make sure it's clean before the show, like the year. They referenced earlier when Shawn became the first wrestler to ever go from number 1 and win it all, and they did a spot similar to that where he and Davey Boy went over at the same time. I think Davey Boy threw him over and Shawn was like holding on and only one of his feet hit, and then he came back in and eliminated Davey Boy.
Yeah.
But of course they shot it from the other angle first and made sure they had a clean shot and that Shawn had not touched both of his feet down.
Yeah, I was going to say the only clips that they haven't shown.
Oh wait, I spoke too soon. Big Show was a sore loser.
Mm-hmm.
Big Show threw him over, but he held on to the rope. So Big Show went completely.
We saw it from behind,
the floor.
but we're not sure if they hit at the same time or who actually hit first.
I was going to say, from what we can see, Rock didn't hit.
And we could easily check it out and watch the Raw from the next night and see what they're showing, but I'm not that concerned about it at this point, honestly. You're welcome to go check it out if you want to.
This was 25 years ago.
Would have been the January 24th Raw from 2000, so check that out if you want to. But I know it leads into they have a match with the title shot on, at least one match with the title shot on the line at the pay-per-view after this, which also featured the Mick Foley, Triple H Hell in a Cell retirement match, and then it would wind up being a 4-way match at WrestleMania. Interesting that Big Show is the last one standing in the ring, but maybe they even knew at this point they were going to lead into multiple matches, and it wasn't like they messed up and then, spun it off from there, so interesting that they didn't. Here we go, we're not going to get a clean shot, I don't think, so it's very possible that Rock's feet hit.
It is possible.
And again, it's very possible that was the plan all along, too. I don't know, I don't remember hearing any stories about the creative process going into the show or anything. So it could have been the plan all along. I really don't know. Good night from New York City. We're not in New York City.
No, you're not.
You may be listening to this in New York City, though, and if you are, thank you so much. We hope that you enjoyed the show. We're gonna be back. We're gonna be doing a lot of commentary. We got a lot of commentaries planned because there's a lot of really good movies that are celebrating milestone anniversaries this year. So be prepared for a lot of commentaries this year. A little bit more wrestling, a lot of movies, a little bit of other stuff. Hopefully, we're gonna be on a more regular schedule from here on out. Hopefully, no more illnesses will set us back. Fingers crossed. Thankfully, everybody's healthy and doing fine for right now. But that was the 2000 edition of the Royal Rumble, the 25th anniversary. What is that, the silver anniversary?
Maybe.
A really good show from a long-gone era of professional wrestling, Hopefully this year's Royal Rumble was really good, too. I'm looking forward to watching it. As I say, by the time this goes up, it will have already happened. And hopefully it will be enjoyable and have some memorable moments, just like this show did. And hopefully you have some memorable moments with us here on the podcast, and you'll continue to come back and check us all out. Like I said, we'll be posting pretty much every other week. There might be a 2-week gap between this and the next one, depending on what our schedule is. But from there on out, we hope to be back on our regular schedule. Of course, you can always check us out at patreon.com/LexiConvo, where the episodes are always posted for everyone to hear. And if you sign up to become a paid member, we have bonus content for you and monthly merchandise designed by Lexi. And we're going to be posting the podcast here on youtube.com/@VidiocyTV this year. Try to get us a little bit more exposure because Vidiocy has a bigger audience. But we're going to have clips of the podcast too on youtube.com/@LexiCon. LexiCon Podcast, I think is the YouTube. There's links to it here in the description of this video. If you're listening on YouTube, you can find it probably no problem. Hopefully you can anyway. And we hope that you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully I haven't droned on too much. And hopefully you will come back next time when the conversation continues. But until then, I am and will continue to be Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
And this is Lexi Concluded.
Bye.
I am losing my voice.
Skill issue.